Vol 2, Chapter 1265, Shipbuilding Conference. The wedding with Adele Ulan was merely a chapter in a larger saga. The decision to hold the wedding amidst the ongoing conflict was proposed by Tang Xiao's wedding planner, Jarno. She argued that postponing the wedding until after the resolution of the conflict on Lendili would reduce the ceremony to a mere transaction, with Tang Xiao appearing as the lesser party. It was crucial to remember that it was Lendili and the Ulan family who sought Tang Xiao's assistance, not the other way around. Thus, proceeding with the wedding during such tumultuous times was a strategic move to assert dominance over the Ulan family, an exchange of benefits, so to speak. Despite his reluctance, Bangira Ulan had no choice but to concede. Having already severed ties with the Galactic Republic, his only allies were the separatist movements, the Confederation of Independent Galaxies, the Dawn Star, and of course, Tang Xiao. By offering his beloved youngest daughter and aligning his family's and company's interests with Tang Xiao, Bangira Ulan made a historic pivot in the 25,000-year legacy of his lineage. While there was still flexibility in designating Adele Ulan as the primary heir, this did not equate to handing over complete control to Tang Xiao. Nevertheless, there was no turning back. Immediately following the wedding, Tang Xiao hurried to the spaceport, intent on securing command over the planetary defense fleet. Meanwhile, Bangira Ulan was tasked with a crucial mission to gain control of the orbital defense platforms surrounding Lendili. Achieving this required garnering sufficient support at the Shipwrights Conference. The Shipwrights Conference, akin to a parliamentary body within the Rendili Interstellar Power Company, has evolved significantly from its humble beginnings. Initially, the Ulan family ancestors convened with factory, workshop, and dockyard managers in a warehouse to strategize shipbuilding plans. These early meetings, devoid of advanced technology and reliant on basic tools and the hard work of craftsmen, laid the foundation for what would become a monumental enterprise. From these modest origins, the Ulan family spearheaded the construction of the Republic's inaugural warships, marking humanity's foray into the cosmos. Over 25,000 years, the Shipwrights Conference transformed from a simple gathering in a warehouse to a prestigious summit directing billions of dollars. Yet despite its growth, the Rendili Interstellar Power Company has maintained its traditional ethos. With over 5,200 interstellar docks, including more than 3,700 near Lendili, the company's influence is vast. Ownership of these shipyards is distributed among over 1,200 proprietors, who collectively form the backbone of the Rendili Star Power Company. The Ulan family, at the helm of the company, directly controls over 1,000 interstellar docks, representing a significant portion of the company's industrial capacity. This direct control, coupled with their influence over additional shipyards, positions the Ulan family as a formidable force within the company. As Lendili faces unprecedented challenges, the Shipwrights Conference stands as a critical juncture, determining the future trajectory of the planet and the Ulan family's legacy. At the Rendili Interstellar Power Company's shipbuilding conference, Bangira Ulan stepped onto the podium with a grave demeanor. Facing the assembly of hundreds of shipyard owners, he began his speech with a solemn declaration. As I have previously mentioned, the Galactic Republic has long harbored intentions to seize the assets of Rendili. Their schemes have now come to light. Our only recourse is resistance. We must rebel against the Galactic Republic and forge our own path. His words immediately sparked an uproar among the audience. Several shipyard owners vocally expressed their dissent, standing up to challenge Bangira's proposition. You speak of resisting the Galactic Republic and preventing them from seizing our assets, only to suggest surrendering them to the separatists. How does that differ, except by inviting war onto our own soil, one of them argued. If you wish to rebel against the Republic, let the Ulan family proceed alone. Do not drag us into this. Bangira Ulan, seemingly unfazed by the objections, continued. Not long ago, I passed the role of executive director of the Rendili Interstellar Power Company to my youngest daughter, Adele Ulan. She has since married Mr. Tang Xiao, the governor of Dawn Star. Henceforth, the Rendili Interstellar Power Company will officially join the Confederacy of Independent Galaxies. The opposition from the crowd grew louder, with some shipyard owners even climbing onto tables to hurl insults at Bagheera Ulan. Amidst the chaos, Bagheera's expression shifted to reveal a peculiar smile. He leaned into the microphone, his voice barely audible over the din. "Observe. This is the Shipbuilders' Assembly, a tradition that dates back 25,000 years to the era of the Ulan ancestors. Yet, faced with adversity, it seems the concern of these shipbuilders lies not with the salvation of the company, but with their own survival." He gazed upwards, sighing. "The irony, it is only today that I realize the true extent of Rendili's decay." The shouting and cursing from the audience intensified, and some shipyard owners turned to leave, only to discover the exits were blocked. Bagheera Ulan's smile grew wider as he seized the microphone, his voice booming. "Did you think I convened this meeting for a discussion? No, no. Ha ha! Today, I am here to conduct the final symphony of a shipbuilders meeting that has spanned 25,000 years." With a dramatic gesture, dozens of mechanical spheres rolled into the venue from surrounding passages. As they came to a halt and unfolded, beetle-like robots equipped with dual explosive machine guns emerged, encircling the entire venue with their menacing presence. These were destroyer robots. Panic ensued among the attendees as they realized the gravity of their situation. Meanwhile, Adel Ulan's determination only seemed to grow stronger amidst the chaos. Please remember to visit the original site for more chapters. Vol 2, Chapter 1266, Battle of Lundili, 2. In the midst of the shipyard owners' conference venue, Bagheera Ulan erupted into a fit of maniacal laughter. He had never intended to engage in serious discussions with these shipyard owners, fully aware that it was unnecessary. His understanding of these individuals surpassed anyone else's, pinpointing the root of the issue to the systemic flaws within the Rendili Star Power Company. Lundili operated as a loosely structured franchise, granting shipyard owners a significant degree of independence. For instance, they could freely accept private orders when their interstellar shipyards were not occupied. Additionally, when Lundili secured a large contract, the work was distributed through internal bidding. The shipyards, privately owned, afforded their owners complete property and inheritance rights. The Rendili Interstellar Power Company's role was primarily to standardize these shipyards, to fulfill uniform orders, and establish internal regulations to guide the shipyard owners' conduct. In essence, the Ulan family, despite being the largest shipyard owner, was perceived as the company's leader. However, those familiar with Lundili's inner workings recognized that the Ulan family's influence was more akin to that of a figurehead. Their proposals at the shipyard owners' meetings required discussion and approval, their dominance stemming from their size and the volume of their voice, which often swayed votes in their favor. Thus, the loyalty of these shipyard owners to the Rendili Interstellar Power Company brand was questionable. Bagheera Ulan's investigations had confirmed their opportunistic nature, revealing their unlikely allegiance in a rebellion. Opting for a massacre over futile negotiations at the shipyard owners' meeting, Bagheera Ulan decided to eliminate them all. This drastic action would undoubtedly plunge numerous interstellar shipyards into disarray and halt operations. It would also provoke opposition from the shipyard owners' subordinates, relatives, and friends. However, Bagheera Ulan was undeterred, recognizing the impending chaos on the planet Lundili and the temporary cessation of shipyard activities as an opportunity. With the interstellar docks abandoned, he would have ample time to address these issues at his leisure. Moreover, eliminating the shipyard owners served another critical purpose for Bagheera Ulan. He needed to seize control of the armed space stations orbiting the planet Rendili. The defense system comprised 10 Golan I-class space defense platforms and 2 Firestar orbital defense platforms, crucial to the planet's orbital defense. Control of these platforms rested with the shipbuilding assembly, as they were constructed by the Rendili Interstellar Power Company without interference from the Galactic Republic. Typically inactive, these platforms would only be activated during significant planetary crises. The 12 space defense platforms were managed by 12 representatives who formed an orbital defense committee, operating under the shipbuilding assembly's directives. However, with Bagheera Ulan's massacre of the shipyard owners' conference attendees, the Orbital Defense Committee members were also among the casualties. As the venue's doors opened, mercenaries and robots flooded in to clear the scattered corpses. More than 300 shipyard owners and senior management members cautiously entered, navigating around the bodies on the floor. Bangira Ulan stood before a gathering of individuals, most of whom were owners of the Ulan family's own shipyards, with a few being loyal replacements and a small number of shipyard owners who had pledged their allegiance to the Ulan family. With a stern expression, Bangira Ulan announced, the Boatmen's Conference was compromised by agents of the Galactic Republic, resulting in significant casualties. In response, and in accordance with the regulations of the Lundily Interstellar Power Company, we are to form a temporary emergency committee. Our first order of business is to issue a directive to all space defense platforms under the committee's name, activate them immediately to thwart any potential intrusions. In the vast expanse of space orbiting the planet Rendili, 12 massive space defense platforms stood guard. 6 of these platforms were positioned along the planet's equator, with one each at the north and south poles, and 2 more stationed in both the northern and southern hemispheres. This strategic placement formed a robust defense network for the planet, with the planetary defense fleet acting as the first line of defense, the space defense platforms as the second, and the planetary shield, along with ground anti-orbital weapon bases as the third. This tri-layered defense system rendered the planet's defenses virtually impenetrable. Among these platforms, there were primarily 2 types. The first was the Flame Star Orbital Defense Platform, designed for low-orbit defense. Manufactured by the Rendili Interstellar Power Company, each platform spanned approximately 2,000 meters and was equipped with 148 laser cannons and 60 concussion missile launchers, manned by a crew of 500. These platforms were highly automated and required minimal maintenance, though their firepower was relatively modest, with the laser cannons primarily serving as close-in defense weapons against fighter jets and missiles. Consequently, only one such platform was stationed at each pole. The remaining 10 platforms were the more formidable Golan I-class, the latest and most powerful defense platform developed by the Galactic Republic. Constructed by Golan Arms, a joint venture between the galaxy's 3 largest industrial giants, Lundili Star Power Corporation, Quarter Power Shipyard, and Corellian Engineering Company, each Golan I-class platform could extend up to 10,000 meters. They were armed with 5 heavy-duty twin-mounted proton torpedo launchers, 28 heavy-duty twin-mounted turbo laser cannons, and 6 large tractor beam generators. The hangar could accommodate 2 squadrons of fighter jets, along with various transport and shuttle aircraft. Despite the smaller number of turrets, the firepower of these turrets was equivalent to the main guns on battlecruisers. For instance, even if 4 or 5 Jaeger-class ships were to besiege a Golan I-class platform, they would struggle to penetrate its formidable defense network. It's important to note that while the Golan I-class platforms were massive and powerful, their efficiency couldn't match that of the Jaeger-class ships due to their size and the fact that they were stationary defense platforms. They couldn't be equipped with the latest supermatter reactors that would allow for more firepower without sacrificing the mobility of valuable warships. Additionally, considering the long-term stationing of officers and soldiers on these platforms, their daily living conditions also had to be taken into account. The establishment of Golan Arms by the 3 industrial giants was a strategic move. They recognized the importance of orbital defense platforms in protecting their homeworld, but preferred to focus their resources on other ventures. Thus, they came together to form a company dedicated to producing these critical defense assets, ensuring the safety of their planet without diverting their primary business focus. In an era marked by interstellar conflicts and the need for advanced defense mechanisms, the establishment of the Golan Arms Company marked a significant turning point. With a clear and unwavering commitment, the company set forth a policy that distinguished it from its contemporaries. It would never engage in the manufacturing of warships. This decision was not only ethical but strategic, positioning the Golan Arms Company as a specialized entity focused solely on the development of weapon platforms and defense systems. The Golan Arms Company's inaugural product, the Golan I-class orbital defense platform, was a testament to the company's innovative approach and technical prowess. Designed with precision and efficiency, the Golan I-class quickly became a staple in the Galactic Republic's defense strategy. Its deployment across key planets within the Inner Ring and Core Circle underscored its importance in safeguarding critical locations against potential threats. This strategic move by the Golan Arms Company did not go unnoticed by the three industrial giants that had previously dominated the market with their own versions of orbital defense platforms. Recognizing the superior quality and effectiveness of the Golan I-class, they began to phase out their existing products in favor of those produced by the Golan Arms Company. This unanimous adoption further solidified the Golan Arms Company's position as a leader in the field of planetary defense systems. As the Golan Arms Company continued to innovate and expand its product line, it became synonymous with reliability and security in an ever-evolving galaxy. The company's dedication to non-involvement in warship manufacturing also earned it a reputation for ethical business practices, setting a new standard in the industry. The story of the Golan Arms Company serves as a reminder of the power of specialization and the importance of adhering to one's principles, even in the competitive and often ruthless world of interstellar defense manufacturing. Vol 2, Chapter 12 and 67, Battle of Lundilli, 3. On the planet Lundilli, in the outer orbit, within the command center of the Golan I space defense platform, an orderly approached the commander, saluted, and handed him an envelope. The commander swiftly opened it, scanned the contents, and announced with urgency, "The Galactic Republic has launched a raid on the Boatman's assembly, inflicting severe casualties on the Rendili Interplanetary Power Company. In accordance with the company's emergency protocols, our Iron Wall No. 7 defense platform is to follow the Emergency Committee's directives immediately." He surveyed the room, his voice firm. "Issue the command. Iron Wall No. 7 defense platform is to enter first-level combat readiness immediately. All personnel are to man their battle stations. The Marine Corps is to assemble at once for a comprehensive inspection of the space station, ensuring there are no suspicious individuals present." "Understood," came the unified response. Simultaneously, similar orders were being issued across other space defense platforms. Out of the 12 platforms, 5 declared their allegiance to Bangira Ulan without hesitation. These platforms promptly transitioned to a state of combat readiness, with all turrets charged and ready to repel any potential invasions. However, the remaining 7 platforms either remained silent or outright rejected the Ulan family's commands. For Bangira Ulan, this outcome was less than ideal, but acceptable under the circumstances. Nonetheless, it meant that Lundilli now possessed a rudimentary level of defense. Seizing the moment, Bangira Ulan began assembling an elite force comprised of mercenaries and bounty hunters. Their mission was clear: to eradicate any opposition to the Ulan family on the planet, particularly targeting the influential families of the shipyard owners. These families had dominated the Rendili Interstellar Power Company for over 20,000 years, becoming a significant obstacle to its progress. This crisis presented a golden opportunity to eliminate them once and for all. Meanwhile, Jedi Knight Jing Fang piloted his shuttle towards the area where the planetary defense fleet was stationed. Peering through the window at the massive ships, he sensed something was amiss. The warships lay dormant at their berths, their external lights extinguished, giving the appearance of a ghost fleet. Yet, Jing Fang was aware that the reality was far more complex. The planetary defense fleet was embroiled in internal conflict. The crew and soldiers aboard the ships were split, engaging in brutal combat. Allegiances were divided between the Galactic Republic and the Rendili Interstellar Power Company, turning former comrades into mortal enemies. The corridors echoed with the chaos of battle, as crew members fought with whatever weapons they could find. A few, armed with smuggled blaster pistols and electric shock devices, took their opponents by surprise, their targets collapsing instantly. On board the flagship Messer Cable, Fleet Commander Captain Jesse Darling led a contingent of Marines through the battleship's corridors. His objective was clear: secure control of the Marine Corps. With their superior firepower, subduing the unarmed crew members was a straightforward task. Holding a communicator, Captain Darling received a holographic projection from Darth Marsainil. "Lord Death Angel," he reported, "I have nearly secured control of the flagship." Darth Massayinner's voice was icy as he demanded an update on the fleet's status. The situation with the other warships remains uncertain. The recent uprising resulted in numerous casualties. Many survivors are loyal to the Republic, including several intelligence operatives, Jesse Darling reported. "Until you have full control, ensure the fleet remains stationary. Severanced fleet is en route, and we need the Galactic Republic's fleet ready for action. Our immediate priority is to secure the planetary defense fleet," Darth Messian instructed. "Understood. Once the flagship issue is resolved, I'll deploy Marin." As to the other warships, Jesse Darling responded just before his attention was caught by an incoming message. His expression changed to one of alarm. "No, a Jedi Knight is approaching, requesting permission to board." "Shoot him down!" Darth Massayinner ordered without hesitation. Meanwhile, Jing Fang sensed an overwhelming danger through his force perception. He noticed the Dreadnought-class heavy cruiser's turret aligning with his position. "Damn it!" he cursed, pushing the shuttle's throttle to its limit, narrowly evading a turbo-laser cannon blast. The flagship Messer Cable's defense turrets unleashed a barrage of fire towards Jing Fang's shuttle. Despite his best efforts to use the Force to predict and dodge the incoming attacks, the shuttle's lack of armaments and inferior speed and agility compared to a fighter made the situation perilously dire. Suddenly, another Dreadnought-class heavy cruiser joined the fray. Its heavy turbo-laser turret emerged and fired directly at the Messer Cable. The flagship's deflector shield absorbed the impact, but the cruiser was already preparing another shot. Amidst the chaos, Jing Fang received a transmission from a woman with a mechanical arm. It was Arden Lin, the bounty hunter. "If you want to survive, come to my battleship first," she commanded. "What are you doing?" Jing Fang inquired, puzzled by her actions. "I'm saving you," Arden Lin replied, her gaze sweeping over the bridge littered with bodies, a smirk playing on her lips. Please remember to visit the official site for more updates. Vol 2, Chapter 1268, Battle of Lundilli. The hangar platform opened, and Jing Fang hurriedly piloted the shuttle into the bay. As he disembarked, the sight that greeted him was grim. The ground was littered with corpses. These bodies bore no visible wounds, yet each was bleeding from all 7 orifices, their deaths evidently agonizing. Jing Fang's brow furrowed in concern, yet he pressed on. Suddenly, the control center's doors swung open, and 2 soldiers emerged, carrying another lifeless body between them. Upon spotting Jing Fang, clad in his simple robe, their eyes sparkled with hope. Discarding the corpse, they rushed towards him, their excitement palpable. "Jedi Knight! The Jedi Knight has arrived!" they exclaimed, snapping to attention with a crisp salute. "General, you've come at last. Have you come to save us? What has transpired here?" Jing Fang inquired, his tone grave. One soldier, catching his breath, explained, "It's chaos. Schick, he changed overnight. He amassed a group and started this madness, seizing anyone he could, demanding Republic or Lundilli. Hesitate or answer Republic, and you're immediately taken prisoner, or worse, killed on the spot if you resist." The numbers were overwhelming. "We've been in hiding." Then Arden Lin appeared, like nothing we've ever seen before, the soldier added, casting a respectful glance at Jing Fang. "Well, except for Jedi Knights, of course." "Arden Lin?" Jing Fang echoed, his gaze drifting to the bodies strewn about. "Yes, she's responsible for all this," the soldier hurried to clarify. "She alone took down hundreds, then stormed the bridge, eliminating the captain and his crew. The ship is ours now, but we're severely understaffed." This is the new Dreadnought-class heavy cruiser, a marvel of Rondelli's engineering, designed for a crew of just 2,200, unlike its predecessors, which required 16,000. "How many of you are left?" Jing Fang asked, his voice steady. "After Arden Lin's intervention and the ensuing chaos, we're down to just over 600, the soldier replied, his voice tinged with despair. Jing Fang nodded, understanding the gravity of their situation. "I'll make contact with Arden Lin." The soldier's face lit up with relief. "Having you here gives us hope. I'll spread the word immediately." With another salute, he dashed off. Jing Fang made his way to the bridge, where he found Arden Lin, a formidable bounty hunter with a mechanical arm. "How dire is the situation?" he asked, despite his reservations about her mysterious origins and formidable prowess. Arden Lin eyed him dismissively. "And what can you, a fledgling, possibly contribute? Bring your master." "I've completed my training. I am now a Jedi Knight in my own right. Master Puluo Kong is no longer my mentor. He was injured and is currently recuperating," Jing Fang responded, his tone firm. Arden Lin burst into laughter. "What has become of the Jedi Knights? The elders are frail, and the young are inexperienced. No wonder the Galactic Republic is in such disarray." Jing Fang's expression darkened, but he chose not to engage in a pointless argument. "The situation is critical. We need to secure control of this fleet immediately." After a moment, Arden Lin's laughter subsided, and she turned serious. "It seems 2/3 of the ships in this fleet are facing similar crises, crew mutinies." The commander had issued. An order was issued, mandating that all warships must stand by and maintain radio silence, effectively shrouding the fleet's internal affairs from the outside world. "At least 2/3 of the warships?" Jing Fang exclaimed in shock. "How could the Separatists control so many warships? I heard you captured Damon Lopez. Did you find anything? Is he a clone?" Arden Lin inquired. "He's not. However, based on his recent actions and the Intelligence Department's findings, it's clear that the Damon who was active a few days ago isn't himself," Jing Fang responded. Arden Lin scoffed. "Isn't that evidence enough?" Before this, Commander Jesse Darling issued an odd order allowing the fleet's officers and soldiers to return to the planet Lundali in batches for a one-day vacation. "Now, do you see the bigger picture?" Jing Fang's expression darkened. "Are you suggesting that all the personnel who went on vacation have been replaced by clones? This is outrageous. We must report this immediately." "And your first instinct is to inform your mother?" Arden Lin mocked. "To whom will you report? Master Yoda is en route, and Speaker Palpatine is urgently assembling battleships. You must realize that the Republic's naval forces are spread thin. It won't be easy to muster a fleet capable of making a significant impact on planet Lundali." "Then what should we do?" Jing Fang started to say, but then hesitated, sensing something amiss in his own question. "Ah, that's more like it," Arden Lin said with a derisive laugh. "For now, our only option is to target their flagship, the Messer cable. It must be under their control. As for the rest, let's hope our actions inspire the remaining loyal warships to fight back and open their hangar doors." Turning to address the soldiers managing the fire control system, she shouted, "Hey, keep firing. How many of our turrets are still operational?" "The fire control team is gone. We're operating blind here, doing our best," a soldier replied, his voice tinged with despair. "Turret 6 is ready." Another voice called out from across the room. "Fire!" The soldier at the fire control console pressed the button, and a burst of light flashed through the porthole as a powerful turbo laser cannon struck the flagship Messer cable directly. In the aftermath, the Messer cable began to move, its battleship forcefully disengaging from its berth and causing a section of the spaceport's support structure to collapse. Then, Captain Jesse Darling's voice emerged over the fleet command channel, signaling a new phase in their desperate struggle. Vol 2, Chapter 12-169, Battle of Lundili, 6. Following Fleet Commander Jesse Darling's orders, the flagship Messer cable, along with 2 Dreadnought-class heavy cruisers, began to maneuver into firing positions, their engines humming as they charged their weapons. "Young Master, wake up quickly. It's our turn to patrol." "Where am I?" Chin-Hu sat up, disoriented, his body chilled by the cold air and the strong wind howling outside, which added to his confusion. "Oh, young master, how can you be so bewildered? We're in the barracks. It's our turn for guard duty. If we shirk our responsibilities, military law will not be lenient. And now, with the old master gone, no one can shield you from the consequences." "What?" Chin-Hu's eyes snapped open, taking in the sight of a tent and a soldier clad in leather armor before him. As he was about to inquire further, a sudden, intense headache overtook him, accompanied by a flood of memories not his own. Within seconds, he realized he had transmigrated from a modern-day Special Forces soldier to a notorious young master named Chin-Hu, a figure from the never-before-seen Dayu dynasty. Qin Hu's lineage traced back to one of the 28 marquises among the 4 founders of the Dayu dynasty. 3 months prior, his father's death had thrust him into the role of the new champion marquis. Spoiled from childhood, Qin Hu had little interest in scholarly pursuits or martial training. As he came of age, his family arranged a marriage for him to Chen Ruoli, the eldest daughter of the Chen family, known for her beauty and intelligence. Despite his otherwise ruthless demeanor, Qin Hu treasured his beautiful and intelligent fiancée above all else. However, a scandal involving his childhood sweetheart, Miss Chen, had unfolded. According to Qin Hu's newfound memories, he had escorted his fiancée to the palace to visit Princess Chang'an, a longtime friend of Chen Ruoli. A banquet was held in their honor, but Qin Hu, having overindulged in alcohol, awoke in the inner guard's prison, accused of making improper advances toward the princess while intoxicated. Adding to his shock, Chen Ruoli had penned a letter accusing Qin Hu of 72 crimes, each claim substantiated with evidence. The imperial decree that followed spared Qin Hu the death penalty, thanks to his ancestors' meritorious service, but he could not escape punishment. He was swiftly dispatched to the front lines, a clear demotion. As Qin Hu pieced together these events, he realized he had fallen into a trap. The Chen family had long sought to sever ties with him. The marriage between the Qin and Chen families had been a political alliance, each hoping to strengthen their influence. However, Qin Hu's dissolute behavior had brought shame upon his family, a stark contrast to the heroic legacy of his ancestors. With his father's passing, the Chen family saw an opportunity to publicly disown him, despite Qin Hu's deep affection for Chen Ruoli, who had grown to despise him. The involvement of Princess Chang'an in the scheme was a calculated move. As Qin Hu's cousin, she stood to inherit the vast wealth of the champion marquis's estate upon his demise. These converging interests set the stage for Qin Hu's downfall. As Qin Hu grappled with these revelations, he realized the depth of the conspiracy against him. Each party involved had their motives, weaving a complex web of betrayal that had ensnared him. Now, on the front lines and stripped of his former life's privileges, Qin Hu faced the daunting task of navigating this treacherous new world. Upon realizing that their enemies were colluding together, they quickly united their forces. It became evident that once he entered the Ho family, it was akin to diving into a deep sea filled with dangers. Numerous individuals within the family wished for his demise. Vol 2, Chapter 1270, Battle of Lundilli, 6. After 2 hours of meticulous calculation, Arden Lin finally realized she had lost 5 units. A sneer curled at the corner of her mouth. "Let's see what tricks you're playing, Captain Jesse Darling." At that moment, a maintenance robot glided along the passageway's slide rails, apparently aiming to repair what the system perceived as a damaged hatch. Without hesitation, Arden Lin kicked it away and then leaped down the pit lane, crushing the robot in the process. She swiftly pressed the nearby button, sealing the forcibly opened cabin door. The automatic air pump whirred to life, repressurizing the cabin as she removed her full-coverage helmet. She proceeded along the corridor towards the bridge, observing the remnants of battle along the way. The cafeteria's overturned tables were scattered in disarray, and the walls bore numerous bloodstains and scorch marks from blaster fire. It appeared a large-scale riot had erupted even within the flagship, only recently quelled by Jesse Darling. It was no surprise that, in the entire planetary defense fleet, only 3 warships had fallen into separatist hands. Darth Sidious had indeed begun plotting the betrayal of Rendley Star Dynamics far in advance. On one hand, Arden Lin admired him for demonstrating that, despite over 20,000 years of evolution, the dark side of the Force was still capable of growth and development, culminating in this moment. On the other hand, she harbored a deep fear, for Sidious was an enigma she couldn't unravel. As she continued, a group of soldiers approached. They halted in surprise upon seeing her, then demanded, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" Arden Lin replied with a smile, "Don't worry, I'm one of you. The Republic still holds Lundilli, right? I choose Lundilli." "Grab her," one of the soldiers shouted. It was then that Arden Lin noticed the hexagonal symbol of the Confederation of Independent Galaxies marked on their uniforms with a waterproof marker. She chuckled. "Ah, my apologies. I hadn't noticed your allegiance." One soldier raised his blaster pistol and fired. But to their astonishment, Arden Lin caught the plasma blast with her bare hands, a feat that should have been impossible given the extreme temperature of the plasma gas. Her smile turned menacing. "See, even after I apologized, you still resort to violence?" With a sudden squeeze of her hand, she dispersed the energy blast. "Lord Necromancer, I believe we've been compromised. This person might be a Jedi Knight," one of the soldiers speculated. Meanwhile, on the flagship Messel cable, Fleet Commander Jesse Darling stood on the bridge alongside Darth Masa Yenner, watching the monitor in disbelief. The realization that no one could stop this woman, who could neutralize blaster shots with her bare hands, sent a chill down his spine. "You should head to the escape pod. If I can't handle her, you'll need to leave first." "I'll deal with her later," Darth Masa Yenner instructed, his words laced with a complexity that Jesse Darling didn't fully grasp. However, he understood the gist. He was to leave immediately. "Understood. Please be careful, Lord Death Angel." Jesse Darling responded without hesitation, then turned to leave, his movements betraying his inherent timidity and cowardice, a trait inherited from his original, despite being a clone programmed with loyalty by Darth Masa Yenner. Watching him go, Darth Masa Yenner smirked coldly. It was no wonder that Lundili's interstellar power was in such disarray, controlled by such flawed individuals. In the original storyline, the rebellion on Rendili was quelled by a mere handful of Jedi Knights, Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Plo Koon, supported by just 3 Jubilee-class assault ships. It's surprising, considering the vast resources and influence a corporation that has endured for 25,000 years should possess. However, the company's longevity has also bred complex issues of nepotism, corruption, and factionalism, undermining any semblance of a meritocracy. As these thoughts crossed her mind, the surveillance system alerted her to Arden Lin's arrival at the bridge's entrance. The soldiers, already petrified by her fearsome reputation as a harbinger of death, dared not obstruct her path. "Let her in," Darth Messiah commanded indifferently. The bridge doors slid open, allowing Arden Lin to stride in confidently. She scanned the room dismissively, her gaze finally settling on Darth Messiah, who stood at the center. "Hello, where's Darren? Did he run off?" she inquired, her tone laced with curiosity. Darth Messiah met her gaze, replying, "I allowed him to leave. It would have been a shame had you killed him here." "Oh." Arden Lin's interest was piqued. She approached Darth Messiah, examining him with a playful scrutiny. "You seem to hold some authority. Are you from the Ulan family? But they don't have your complexion." "I'm here to deliver a message," Tang Xiao interjected with a smile. "A message? Very well, but once we're done here, I might just kill everyone present." Arden Lin remarked, her grin widening. "Killing those here won't serve your purpose, especially not in reviving Sindor," Darth Messiah stated bluntly. At his words, Arden Lin's demeanor shifted dramatically. In a flash, she was upon him, her hand clasping his throat with the speed of a cheetah. "If you wish to continue living comfortably, you'd better consider your next words very carefully," she hissed, her voice icy with lethal intent. Darth Messiah, though taken aback by her swift assault, remained composed. He had been cautious, yet he still hadn't anticipated her lightning-fast approach. In a direct confrontation, he would have been vanquished instantly. Arden Lin's strength was formidable, a force so potent that even Darth Sidious would struggle against her if caught off guard. With a cold glint in his eyes, Darth Messiah reached out, seizing Arden Lin's wrist. She instantly sensed something amiss. A decaying force surged through her wrist, sapping her vitality. This malevolent energy not only threatened her physical well-being, but also hinted at the dark powers at Darth Messiah's command. Vol 2, Chapter 1271, Battle of Lundili, 7, The Force of Death. This terrifying power operates by directly absorbing the life force of its opponent, distinguishing it from ordinary forces. Neither Jedi Knights nor Sith Lords, with their often-used force barriers, can withstand it. However, during this encounter, Darth Malthael discovered that his death force barely made an impact before being halted by a mysterious energy emanating from Arden Lin. Upon closer inspection, he noticed a stone tied around her waist. This stone, about 20 centimeters in length, appeared gray and unremarkable. Yet, Darth Malthael recognized it as the source of resistance against his death force, an ancient force artifact known as the Amulet of Kashmir. This amulet was the reason Ardenlin had been able to slumber for over 20,000 years and still survive to this day. Despite successfully blocking the death force with the amulet's power, Ardenlin was visibly shaken. With a swift motion, she pushed Darth Malthael away and retreated several steps, her eyes burning with fury. "Who are you, and what kind of power is this?" she demanded. Darth Malthael calmly responded, "This is a manifestation of the dark side of the Force, which I have named the Death Force." Ardenlin, intrigued yet cautious, adopted a defensive stance. "Fascinating. It seems effective against mere mortals, but I doubt it will bring you any joy against me. I came here to deliver a message. Would you at least allow me to finish before we resort to combat?" Darth Malthael proposed. "Speak, then," Ardenlin commanded, maintaining her readiness. "Is that the Amulet of Kashmir you're wearing?" Darth Malthael inquired, seizing the opportunity to change the subject. Surprised, Ardenlin replied, "I'm astonished that after more than 20,000 years, someone still recognizes this artifact." Darth Malthael explained, "The Amulet of Kashmir was crafted by the Kashmir dynasty as a national protective artifact. The dynasty, predating the Galactic Republic, was among the first to discover and utilize the Force through what is known as the Breathe method. Unfortunately, their reign ended when a supernova obliterated their star system. Despite the catastrophe, the amulet survived, albeit damaged, yet still harbors immense power. Do you aspire to claim this amulet for yourself? I'd advise you to focus on your survival instead," Ardenlin retorted with a sneer. "I merely wish to demonstrate that I'm well informed about you. In fact, I know quite a bit," Darth Malthael countered. Intrigued, Ardenlin allowed him to continue. "Your husband, the warlord Shin Duo, who led the Leto Legion in a rebellion against the Jedi Order, perished in the Battle of Columbus over 24,000 years ago. The rumors of his resurrection are unfounded. Any promises made to you based on such falsehoods are deceitful." "Who dares spread such lies?" Ardenlin demanded, her anger reigniting. Raising an eyebrow, Darth Malthael revealed, "It was none other than a powerful Sith Lord, Darth Malthael." "A Sith Lord? A practitioner of the dark side in this era?" Ardenlin frowned, puzzled. "But I was under the impression that the Sith abide by the rule of two, one master and one apprentice. How then does Darth Malthael fit into this?" "It appears Darth Sidious has not been entirely truthful with you, just as he lied about the possibility of resurrecting Sindor," Darth Malthael stated plainly. "I demand proof." Ardenlin's eyes flashed with a renewed intent to kill. Darth Sidious was indeed correct about one aspect. His master, Darth Plagueis, possessed the unique ability to resurrect the dead. However, the situation was complicated by the presence of another apprentice, Darth Marthael. And I assure you, despite Darth Sidious's formidable power, he has not mastered the art of resurrection, Darth Marthael revealed. "What? Are you suggesting that this Darth Malthael can be resurrected?" Ardenlin scoffed with disbelief. "When you meet him, you can witness his demonstration firsthand," Darth Marthael retorted, calmly. "Fine, we'll see when he arrives," Ardenlin replied dismissively, her tone laced with skepticism. Darth Marthael, sensing the impending conflict, warned, "Now that we're at this juncture, shouldn't you consider—" "I should eliminate you first," Ardenlin interrupted with a menacing grin, launching herself towards him with fists ready. Darth Marthael, taken aback, retreated step by step, igniting his blue lightsaber and thrusting it towards her. Astonishingly, Ardenlin managed to block the lightsaber with her bare hands, or more accurately, with a formidable force enveloping her hands. This force acted as a barrier, preventing the lightsaber's damage. The concept might seem straightforward, but considering the lightsaber's temperature can reach millions of degrees, blocking it with mere force was no small feat. Darth Marthael was aware that even he, with his considerable abilities, could not achieve such a feat. Even though Darth Plagueis was a master of the dark side and often preferred to combat unarmed, using dark magic to deflect or disarm a lightsaber was his method. Never had Darth Marthael witnessed someone as audaciously direct as Ardenlin, who used the Force to shield her hands and directly counter the lightsaber's attack. Gritting his teeth, Darth Marthael acknowledged Ardenlin's extraordinary power. His current form, merely a clone with the strength of a Jedi Knight, was no match for her. His true form, currently in stasis, could potentially rival her, but releasing it would unleash an undead presence wherever he went, a risk he was unwilling to take unless absolutely necessary. This was mainly because it could jeopardize his plans to seize control of the Rendili Interstellar Power Company. Meanwhile, Arden Lynn's assault was relentless. Her fists, enhanced with various forces through different gestures and movements, struck with diverse and devastating effects. Within moments, Darth Marthael found himself overwhelmed, unable to resort to the same tactics he had previously used, such as the Death Force sneak attack that Master Yimpu Okong had employed. The amulet Arden Lynn wore protected her from the corrosive effects of his Death Force. Do you not even want to see proof before you place all your bets on Darth Sidious? You obediently serve him, hoping he will have mercy and grant your request, praying he actually possesses the power he claims, Darth Marthael exclaimed, trying to reason with her. With a powerful punch, Arden Lynn sent Darth Marthael flying into a console, causing him to cough up blood. The surrounding soldiers, witnessing the fierce battle, had already fled, including their commander. Spitting out another mouthful of blood, Darth Marthael silently vowed that if Arden Lynn continued to disregard his warnings, he would have no choice but to awaken his true form and show her the true power of the Death Force. However, after delivering the punch, Arden Lynn paused, her expression softening slightly. What you've said does hold some merit. I have no reason to place all my hopes on Darth Sidious, she admitted thoughtfully. Please remember the first domain name of this book, website domain. Vol 2, Chapter 1272, Battle of Lundili. In the midst of the tense atmosphere, Darth Marthael's voice resonated with a deep and commanding tone. If that's the case, this fleet will fall under my command. You would do well not to interfere, he declared. It's your call. I'll be waiting right here. If that Darth Marthael you speak of fails to provide me with a satisfactory answer, the conversation was abruptly cut off. Young master, wake up quickly. It's our turn for patrol duty. Blinking his eyes open in confusion, Chin-Hu sat up, feeling an unusual chill. The strong winds howling outside the tent added to his disorientation. Where am I? He murmured, trying to gather his bearings. Oh, young master, how can you be so bewildered? We're in the barracks. It's our turn to stand guard. Military law is strict, and now that the old master is gone, no one can shield you from it, explained the soldier in leather armor standing before him. What? Chin-Hu's confusion deepened until a sudden excruciating headache struck him, flooding his mind with a torrent of information. Within seconds, he realized he had transmigrated from a modern-day Special Forces soldier to a young noble named Chin-Hu, notorious as one of the capital's 7 villains in an era known as the Daiyu dynasty, a period not recorded in any historical texts. 3 months prior, Chin-Hu's father, a distinguished marquis among the 28 founding marquises of Daiyu, passed away from illness, leaving Chin-Hu to inherit the title. Spoiled from childhood, Chin-Hu had little interest in scholarly pursuits or martial training. As he grew older, his family arranged a marriage for him to Chen Ruoli, the eldest daughter of the Chen family, a woman celebrated for her beauty and intelligence. Despite his notorious reputation, Chin-Hu cherished his fiancée, viewing her as a precious gem. However, a scandal involving his childhood sweetheart, Miss Chen, turned his world upside down. According to Chin-Hu's recollections, he had escorted his fiancée to the palace to pay respects to Princess Chang'an, a close friend of Chen Ruoli. A banquet was held in their honor, but Chin-Hu ended up heavily intoxicated, only to awaken in the inner guard's prison, accused of making improper advances toward the princess while drunk. To his shock, Chen Ruoli had penned a letter accusing Chin-Hu of 72 crimes, each claim meticulously documented. The news struck Chin-Hu like a thunderbolt, leaving him in disbelief. An imperial decree soon followed, sparing Chin-Hu the death penalty due to his ancestors' meritorious service, but condemning him to a life of penance. He was swiftly dispatched to the front lines, assigned to the pioneer tent. As Chin-Hu pieced together these memories, he realized he had fallen into a meticulously laid trap. The Chen family had long sought to sever ties with him. The marriage between the Qin and Chen families was a political alliance, each hoping to strengthen their influence. However, Qinhu's dissolute lifestyle had brought shame upon his family's illustrious legacy. While the elder Marquise was alive, the Chen family maintained a facade of respect, but his death marked a turning point, with the Chen family openly seeking to dissolve the marriage. Despite Qinhu's deep affection for Chen Ruoli, she harbored nothing but contempt for him, viewing him as a vile scoundrel. This brewing storm was a conspiracy involving several parties, each with their own agenda. Princess Chang'an, Qinhu's cousin, stood to inherit the vast wealth of the Champion House mansion upon his demise. These intertwined motives set the stage for a calamitous downfall, with each player seeking to extract their desired outcome from the chaos. As soon as they banded together, it became evident that joining the Hao family was akin to diving into a vast, treacherous ocean. Within its depths, a multitude of individuals harbored the desire for his demise. Vol 2, Chapter 1273, Battle of Lundilli, 9. The mercenaries entered the battlefield with lethal efficiency. Skillfully navigating the terrain around the building, they coordinated with the pilot aboard their spacecraft to identify the enemy's firepower. Once they had a clear understanding, they swiftly moved through the zones untouched by enemy fire and stormed the building. Additionally, several snipers positioned on the spacecraft provided cover, with a falling sniper proving to be exceptionally deadly. Positioned at the spacecraft's hatch, she operated a modified sniper rifle, firing with unerring accuracy every few seconds. Inspired by the mercenaries' valiant efforts, the Lundilli rebels found renewed vigor, their battle cries filling the air as they charged forward once more. However, their momentum was abruptly interrupted by a high-speed hover vehicle that crashed into the building. From the wreckage, a figure emerged, wielding a lightsaber, and in one swift motion, cleaved a nearby mercenary in two. This figure was none other than Jax Pavan, a Jedi Knight. After losing track of Darth Malthel, Jax had redirected his efforts towards the planetary shield control center, which was on the verge of being overtaken. In his pursuit, he commandeered a luxury hover vehicle from a wealthy individual's mansion, rationalizing that the urgency of his mission justified the means. The vehicle's exceptional speed allowed him to reach the control center swiftly, where he found the rebels and mercenaries already making significant headway. Without hesitation, Jax drove the luxury vehicle straight into the building, rendering it useless but successfully breaching the entrance. Brandishing his lightsaber, he carved a path through the enemy, rallying the beleaguered Republic defenders. "Come quickly, to the main control room. We cannot allow the Separatists to activate the planetary shield," he commanded. The sight of a Jedi Knight bolstered the spirits of the Republic defenders, who launched a renewed assault. The mercenaries, valuing their lives, opted to retreat temporarily, taking potshots from a distance. Jax, standing resolute, deflected incoming blaster fire with his lightsaber, protecting the remaining Republic defenders as they made their way to the main control room. As the door to the control room began to close, the mercenaries outside realized their opportunity was slipping away and unleashed a barrage of fire towards the narrowing gap. Amidst the chaos, several Republic defenders were struck down. Jax, using the Force, hastily barricaded the door with any movable objects he could find from the main console. A blaster bolt narrowly missed his head, blasting a hole in a table beside him. Startled but undeterred, he reassured the frightened soldiers, "Don't worry, we just need to hold our position here, find anything that can be used to reinforce the door. We must protect this control room at all costs." Jax Pawan commanded, "Use everything at our disposal and seal every entrance and exit here." A soldier raised a concern. "Then how do we get out?" "You don't need to worry about leaving. Just wait for support here," Jax Pawan explained. "The Separatists are short on reinforcements, so they're trying to raise the planetary shield to cut off the entire planet from external aid. As long as we hold this position, they'll have no choice but to face the Republic's reinforcements head-on, and they stand no chance against us." Understood. With the Jedi Knight's arrival, the soldiers felt a renewed sense of determination. They quickly divided their tasks and worked together to fortify the main control room. Meanwhile, battles raged across the planet Rendili. At an anti-orbital weapon base near the South Pole, a vast army of B-1 battle droids marched in formation, undeterred by the biting cold winds. The E5 blaster rifles in their hands unleashed a barrage of energy beams, scorching the metal walls of the base and creating numerous pits and blackened areas. The Republic's defenders were cornered, too terrified to even peek out from their hiding spots. They blindly fired their weapons, hoping to hit the encroaching droids. Suddenly, the base's gate was blown apart, and a flood of B-1 droids surged in, eliminating any Republic defenders in sight. After securing the main control room, a blue-painted B-1 droid captain activated the communicator. "Sir, we have captured the base." From a distant spaceship, a commander of the Rendili rebel army peered through a telescope at the base and responded, "Excellent. Prepare to move out. Our droid forces are limited and needed elsewhere." Turning to his soldiers, still shivering in their thick winter gear, the officer announced, "The droids have completed their mission. It's our turn to take over the base." The battle for Rendili saw victories and losses on both sides, leaving chaos in its wake. Despite the relentless propaganda from the planet's media, promoting the provisional military government established by the Ulan family and smearing the Galactic Republic, the people had grown desensitized to it. The ongoing conflict had claimed millions of lives, making it impossible to keep count. Gunshots and fierce skirmishes became a nightly occurrence, with no end in sight. The provisional military government claimed victory daily, but the unceasing battles spoke louder than their words. The people of Rendili, weary and sharp-eyed, could see the truth for themselves. Now, the conflict awaited a decisive factor: control of the fleets. Neither the orbital defense platforms nor the massive anti-orbital weapon bases could turn the tide alone. However, seizing control of the planetary defense fleet and raising the planetary shield could give the Rendili star power a fighting chance, even against the Republic's fleet, thanks to the planet's robust defense systems. But the Jedi Knight's intervention posed a significant obstacle to achieving this goal. Darth Malthal, stationed on the bridge of the fleet flagship Messer Cable, had other concerns. Although he acknowledged Arden Lynn's beauty and formidable strength, her style did not appeal to him. More pressing matters demanded his attention, overshadowing any personal interests. In the shadowy depths of the galaxy, a palpable tension hung in the air, a prelude to an impending confrontation. Darth Malthal, despite the limitations of his weakened clone body, could sense a formidable presence approaching. It wasn't merely the sharpness of his senses that alerted him. It was the brazen display of a powerful and dense light side force by the newcomer upon entering the Lundili galaxy. This wasn't just a mere intrusion. It was a blatant provocation, a declaration of war. Arden Lynn, on the other hand, was not as quick to pick up on these nuances. The force system from over 24,000 years ago, from which she hailed, was vastly different from the current one, rendering her somewhat out of touch with these developments. However, Darth Malthal was acutely aware of the implications. "Master Yoda, here we come," he thought, bracing himself for what was to come. As the narrative reaches this critical juncture, it's essential to pause and reflect on the journey thus far. The unfolding events promise a clash of titanic forces, a testament to the enduring struggle between the light and dark sides of the Force. For those who have followed this tale from the beginning, the anticipation for the final showdown grows. As we temporarily halt our storytelling, let's eagerly await the culmination of this epic saga. Remember, the journey of our characters and the battles they face can only be fully appreciated by keeping in mind the rich history and lore that has been woven into the fabric of this narrative. Please note, this is a work of fan fiction, blending elements from the Harry Potter universe with those of the Star Wars galaxy. The original text has been translated and adapted for a better reading experience. Vol 2, Chapter 1274, Yoda vs. Tang Xiao, Part 1. Master Yoda, the venerable leader of the Jedi Order, has been a beacon of wisdom and guidance for over 800 years. In his long tenure, he has dedicated himself to the future of the Jedi Order and the Galactic Republic, pondering the mysteries of the Force and steering the course of destiny. As the Galactic Republic faces its decline and the shadow of collapse looms large, Master Yoda has endeavored to salvage what remains of this once great civilization. Despite his efforts, the downfall of the Republic seems inevitable, a realization that has led him to take a step back in his later years, leaving Master Mace Windu to handle many of the Order's affairs. Yet, whenever the Republic calls, Master Yoda stands ready to defend it, his diminutive stature belied by the immense strength and wisdom he possesses. Indeed, for 8 centuries, he has been the undisputed pinnacle of the Jedi Order. Now, Master Yoda's resolve is tested once more as he senses the dark presence of a Sith Lord, a fallen angel, stirring chaos at the heart of the Republic. This Sith Lord has brazenly infiltrated Lundili, a crucial industrial hub threatening the very foundation of the Republic. Driven by both duty and moral imperative, Master Yoda knows this menace must be confronted and vanquished. Meanwhile, Darth Malthel, aware of Master Yoda's arrival, prepares for the inevitable confrontation. Despite his preference to avoid a battle with the esteemed Jedi Master, the situation leaves him no choice. The Sith Lord's presence on Lundili has drawn the Jedi's ire, and now, with Master Yoda himself stepping into the fray, the stakes are higher than ever. Darth Malthel had hoped for Master Windu, thinking he could exploit the situation to his advantage, but Master Yoda's involvement complicates his plans. The Jedi Order may be in decline, but Master Yoda remains a formidable opponent, a beacon of light in a galaxy edging towards darkness. "Open the hatch," Darth Malthel commands, his gaze shifting to Arden Lin, who watches him with a mix of curiosity and skepticism. "We have visitors, Jedi Knights." "Are you sure they're not here for you?" Arden Lin retorts, her tone laced with suspicion. "After all, you serve Darth Sidious. Do you think Master Yoda is unaware?" Darth Malthel smirks, unfazed by her insinuation. "He may not be able to confront Darth Sidious directly, but that doesn't mean he'll hesitate to deal with you." "And you think that will make me side with you?" Arden Lin counters, clearly unimpressed. "I'll make sure he knows everything about you," Darth Malthel replies, closing his eyes once more, a gesture of finality. Furious, Arden Lin stands, her anger palpable. "Then I should kill you now." Darth Malthel rises to meet her challenge, his arms open in a gesture of surrender. "Go ahead, take that gamble. Bet on Darth Sidious knowing the resurrection technique, and bet on him listening to you and bringing back your husband." Arden Lin hesitates, torn between her desire for vengeance and her love for her husband. The mention of resurrection stirs a deep longing within her, a testament to the enduring power of love, even in the face of darkness. As the confrontation between light and dark draws near, the fate of the galaxy hangs in the balance, with Master Yoda and Darth Malthel poised at the heart of the storm. The battle that ensues will not only determine the future of the Republic, but also the destiny of the Force itself. Years had passed, yet the sentiment remained unchanged. Furthermore, Darth Sidious was indeed not a figure to be trusted, and the young individual before him was correct. It was indeed foolish to place all one's bets on a single entity. Darth Malthel continued his persuasion. "Master Yoda is currently in a weakened state. If you managed to eliminate him, you would have vanquished the greatest and most formidable Jedi Knight of our era. This act would serve as vengeance for your husband, and, more significantly, fulfill his lifelong ambition, the eradication of the Jedi Order." "I will take it into consideration," Arden Lin responded, her tone light. Meanwhile, a Lambda-class shuttle landed on the hangar platform of the flagship Messer Cable. As the hatch opened, Master Yoda emerged, leaning on his cane. Instantly, the soldiers of the Rendili rebel army surrounding him raised their weapons and unleashed a barrage of blaster fire. However, the energy beams halted mere meters from Master Yoda, slowing to a standstill and morphing into balls of fire. With a light hum from Master Yoda, the blaster beams extinguished, and the soldiers collapsed, unconscious. Unperturbed, Master Yoda continued his journey towards the bridge. The bridge, located at the forefront of the Dreadnought-class heavy cruiser, was a few minutes' walk from the hangar, through winding corridors. The bridge's gate stood open, and upon entering, Master Yoda found 2 individuals, a man and a woman, standing inside. They faced each other, clearly not allies. "Master Yoda," Darth Malthel greeted as he turned around. "Dead Angel," Master Yoda replied, his greeting laden with unspoken meanings. Their eyes met, each understanding the other's resolve. Arden Lin, observing the exchange, shifted her gaze between Master Yoda and Darth Malthel, her brow furrowed in thought. "Master Yoda, consider this. If Darth Sidious were to simply absorb Rendili, turning them into resources for the Kuat power dock, thereby amassing a formidable force and dark fleet for himself, wouldn't that be beneficial? Darth Malthael proposed with a smile. Why not halt your efforts here, and allow me to continue the battle against Darth Sidious with Rendili, leaving a glimmer of hope for your Jedi Knights? Master Yoda, unfazed, removed his robe, revealing a small lightsaber attached to his belt. He grasped it firmly in his hand. Sidious is Sidious, Dead Angel is Dead Angel. They are not one and the same. Darth Malthael. That is my Sith title, Darth Malthael declared. Inscribed in the annals of the Jedi Order, your title will be recorded, Master Yoda retorted, igniting his green lightsaber and adopting a battle stance. There is no escape, even for a mere phantom like yourself. Darth Malthael shook his head. Still, you see through the facade. You truly are Master Yoda. But have you not wondered about the identity of the lady beside me? Master Yoda's voice deepened. A dark Jedi, ancient and malevolent. You both shall face judgment. This chapter does not exist, sadly. Let's proceed to the next chapter. Vol 2, Chapter 1276, Gaining and Losing. Darth Malthael rose from the stasis chamber, freed from the constraints of the artifact crafted through Sith alchemy. A dreadful aura of death emanated from him, instantly transforming the once white condensed mist into a dark, ominous cloud. This powerful force did not dissipate. Instead, it grew denser, spreading far into the distance. In an unremarkable small industrial area on the planet Lundili, a group of workers were concluding their day. They returned to the locker room, exchanged their protective gear for casual attire, and queued at the time card machine to clock out. Despite the chaos engulfing Lundili, life in certain places, like this industrial zone, proceeded with a semblance of normalcy. The factory where these workers were employed produced an inconspicuous item, a small industrial welding torch designed for maintenance robots. As they walked out in small groups, the workers engaged in light conversation, discussing potential spots for a drink, the tumultuous state of Lundili, and speculating whether the conflict among the planet's high-ranking elders would impact their wages. Unbeknownst to them, death was creeping in. The black mist rolled in silently, the lights flickered violently before shattering, and the ground beneath them turned pitch black and barren. Wooden seats decayed into ash within seconds. Yet, the workers remained oblivious to the drastic changes around them, standing motionless, their bodies swaying slightly. Suddenly, one of them let out a horrific roar, his body desiccated and withered, resembling a mummy long dead. His eyes, now cloudy and shriveled, radiated a savage ferocity. They had been transformed into undead creatures by the pervasive force of death. Darth Malthael observed his surroundings, noting his own body's rapid desiccation. Though not as skeletal as when he first underwent the dark ceremony on Korriban, he was noticeably emaciated. He realized that despite merging his dark side force with the death force, he had missed a crucial step, being crowned as the king of the undead in the Canyon of the Dark Lord. Now, he wielded immense power, capable of transforming an entire city into a sea of undead, but this power was not yet fully under his control. The last step. Darth Malthael murmured, his voice cold and low. He uttered two names with a sense of foreboding. Darth Sidious. Maka Ragnos. Anyone who stands in my way will meet their end. He took a deep breath, the air around him thick with the force of death. Now was not the time for confrontation. After the interruption of the last ceremony, Darth Sidious was undoubtedly vigilant, especially towards Korriban. The time to face him directly had not yet arrived. Darth Malthael picked up a communicator and dialed a special frequency. Receiving a call on this frequency, does that mean you're ready to overturn the chessboard, Your Excellency Governor? Came Kunte's flat voice from the other end. I merely wanted to ensure your survival, Darth Malthael responded. Following your instructions, I haven't come within 10 kilometers of the stasis chamber since its placement. Kunte's voice trailed off. Then he added, the factory is small, with few people around, and there's a spaceport nearby. You should be able to reach it quickly without causing too much disturbance. I've done my best. Darth Malthael listened in silence, offering no response. Kunte continued to speak, his words blending into the background, uncertain if he was seeking validation or simply filling the silence. Darth Malthael muttered to himself, or perhaps to Masail. At this time, the workers are leaving their shifts, aren't they? Yet, I couldn't find a less crowded place. Some locations are too distant from the spaceport. But, I understand. Everything is for the sake of the fourth civilization. We must take control of the planet Rendili. We must. Thank you, Cunter, Darth Malthael interrupted, his voice cutting through the silence that had fallen on the other end of the communicates. Ion. Goodbye, he said once more, but the silence persisted. Taking a deep breath, Darth Malthael shook his head and crushed the communicator in his hand. The 3 words he owed Cunter remained unspoken, yet he knew the debt he owed. Throughout this period, Cunter had been instrumental in carrying out kidnappings, coercion, extortion, and assassinations. His skills were unparalleled, allowing him to navigate any situation with ease. This enabled Darth Malthael to swiftly collaborate with the newly appointed Mayor of Daman, executing a series of replacements and brainwashing operations. However, these actions contradicted the principles that Cunter held as a special operative in the village. Darth Malthael was well aware that the individuals on the Mothership did not share the same unwavering loyalty that came with ideological indoctrination. To enlist these people for his cause, he relied not on system exploits, but on his own objectives, actions, interests, and authority. He had to leverage everything at his disposal to attract the galaxy's finest talents. Although he initially employed sleep suggestion techniques, he recognized their limitations, especially against those with strong mental fortitude. The reason Cunter continued to assist him was not rooted in power or strength, but in the bond of friendship forged through shared life and death experiences shortly after their awakening. But now, that bond was no more. As the fourth civilization progressed, Darth Malthael found himself gaining immense power, status, and influence. Yet with each advancement, he also faced the loss of something irreplaceable. The remnants of the crushed communicator slipped through Darth Malthael's fingers like powder. He stepped forward, enveloped in billowing black mist, resembling the Grim Reaper himself. With each step, the black mist spread, causing all life in its path to wither, transforming humans and objects alike into undead spirits. This terrifying power was merely a fraction of what leaked from him unintentionally. Moments later, at a spaceport now overrun by undead spirits, a shuttle crafted by Lundali ascended into the sky. However, instead of heading into space, it veered towards the planet, aiming for the planetary shield control center. Meanwhile, Master Yoda was engaged in a fierce battle with Arden Lin within the planetary defense fleet. Darth Malthael chose not to interfere, opting instead to seize this opportunity to undertake a more meaningful endeavor. Vol 2, Chapter 1277, Yoda vs. Arden Lin. The bridge of the Dreadnought-class heavy cruiser trembled under the force of the collision between 2 formidable powers. Master Yoda and Arden Lin engaged in a battle that was a blur of motion, particularly on the part of Master Yoda. Despite standing less than 1 meter tall, his agility and speed were astonishing. Each of his movements, whether a stab or a tumble, generated a subsonic boom, showcasing his exceptional mastery. Wielding his lightsaber, which was no larger than a ruler, Master Yoda executed attacks with a speed and strength that belied its size. His techniques were not only rapid and cunning, but also delivered with surprising force, challenging the expectations of what his small stature could achieve. Arden Lin, a formidable leader among the ancient Dark Jedi Knights, found herself on the defensive against Master Yoda's relentless onslaught. Yet, Arden Lin's own strength was formidable. Without wielding any traditional weapon, her hands proved to be deadly tools. She launched a barrage of punches, each one meeting Master Yoda's lightsaber head-on and managing to block the seemingly invincible blade, a feat that spoke volumes of her power, given the lightsaber's ability to slice through tank armor with ease. Her movements were fluid and precise, each step and shift allowing her to unleash her full strength with every punch. In a swift maneuver, Master Yoda exploited a brief opening, darting to Arden Lin's side where her arms couldn't reach. With a surge of the Force, he aimed a potent strike at her waist. This direct attack was something Master Yoda hadn't resorted to in years. Arden Lin, sensing the imminent danger, countered with a punch, her fists shifting through over a dozen forms to channel the primal force into a strange symbol, Teras Cassi, the Iron Hand technique. The clash was explosive. Master Yoda's lightsaber shattered, its kyber crystal destroyed. Simultaneously, his finger pierced Arden Lin's abdomen, leaving a gruesome wound. Yet, she had narrowly avoided a fatal blow by shifting at the last moment. A shard of kyber crystal, propelled by a mysterious force, grazed Master Yoda's forehead, drawing blood, a testament to the intensity of their confrontation. Both combatants were wounded, but neither yielded. Master Yoda, though visibly exhausted, prepared for a final showdown, his eyes burning with unwavering resolve. The air around them crackled with the raw power of the Force. "You are formidable, old man. Were you a few hundred years younger, I might have no choice but to flee," Arden Lin remarked, her voice tinged with respect. She tended to her wound, which ceased bleeding under her touch. Despite the severity of her injury, she appeared to be in better physical condition than Master Yoda. "Die by this move, Master Odristapina," Master Yoda intoned gravely, acknowledging the ancient and nearly forgotten iron hand technique Arden Lin wielded. "Your skill is a relic of a bygone era, lost to the ages." Arden Lin's laughter was bitter, her expression twisted in pain. "It's a rare honor to be recognized by you, Master Yoda, but know this. If you wielded a vibroblade instead of a lightsaber, you would already be dead." "I will fulfill Master Pina's legacy," Master Yoda declared, his voice resonating with determination. As he focused, the entire bridge vibrated with the impending force of their final confrontation, setting the stage for a duel that would be remembered through the ages. His formidable power was unmistakable. He was prepared for battle. "Prepare yourselves, for we are about to confront the dark demon from over 20,000 years ago, Arden Lin." Upon witnessing his readiness, Arden Lin couldn't help but express her astonishment. "Have you lost your mind, old man? Can your frail body really handle such immense power? Or perhaps, do you have some new tricks up your sleeve?" Master Yoda remained silent, yet his firm and piercing gaze spoke volumes. However, just then, an unexpected event unfolded. Explosions rocked the area, one after another, as if the heavens themselves were collapsing. Flames soared into the sky, signaling the beginning of chaos. The flagship of the defense fleet, the Dreadnought-class heavy cruiser Messer, was left virtually unmanned. Its crew had either fled or perished, and those who remained were incapacitated by Master Yoda's stunning force. Consequently, the ship's shields were breached by adjacent dreadnoughts. Amidst the violent explosions, the battleship began to capsize. The anti-gravity gyro device at its core was destroyed, throwing the ship's gravitational control into disarray. Seizing the moment, Arden Lin darted to the side, retrieving the backpack she had discarded earlier. Almost simultaneously, a sharp fragment, propelled by Master Yoda's force, struck the spot she had just vacated. Arden Lin had no desire to engage in a desperate battle with Master Yoda. She quickly donned her full-coverage helmet, sprinted through the breach, and, propelled by the force, made her way towards the hangar platform along the collapsing hull of the warship. Meanwhile, on the chaotic bridge, Master Yoda took a moment to steady himself against the wall, gasping for air. His advanced age was evident. His body was riddled with ailments, particularly his knees, which caused him almost crippling pain. Despite his small stature, he favored the fourth style of lightsaber combat, Ataru, which allowed him to maximize his physical capabilities, albeit at a great energy cost. Another explosion from the stern of the ship caused further violent shaking. Master Yoda glanced at the unconscious crew members, took a deep breath, and once again summoned his formidable power. Under his influence, the battleship abruptly corrected its course. The tilting hull and gravity generator were forcibly realigned to their original positions. Then, turning his attention to the battleship's control console, Master Yoda manipulated it with an invisible force, steering the ship away from the battle. Note 1. Odristapina, a prominent figure in the Jedi Order during the First Jedi Split, led the Jedi Knights in a valiant counterattack against the formidable Leto Legion. Throughout their campaign, they defeated numerous masters and warriors, including Shin Duo. In his final confrontation with Arden Lin, Odristapina used the Force to stop Arden Lin's heart. However, in doing so, his vibrating knife was destroyed by Arden Lin's iron hand technique, and he was fatally wounded. The battle ended with both combatants dying. However, Arden Lin, protected by Kashmir's amulet, managed to enter a state of suspended animation at the last moment using the Iron Hand technique, thus avoiding death. He remained in this state for over 20,000 years until now. Vol 2, Chapter 1278, Revenge. On the planet Lundili, within the Planetary Shield Control Center's main control room, chaos reigned. The sound of bombardment and explosions echoed outside the metal door, each blast sending shockwaves through the room as if the Earth itself was quaking. "Those rebels are trying to blow up the door," exclaimed a Republic soldier, his forehead slick with cold sweat. "Calm down. Set up our defenses," commanded Jedi Knight Jax Pavan amidst the turmoil. He instructed the soldiers to dismantle non-essential equipment in the main control room and use it to construct a makeshift barricade. This facility was designed with enemy attacks in mind. They won't be able to breach it easily. Another explosion rocked the room, causing the equipment and lights to flicker momentarily. "Prepare some grenades for a makeshift detonation device. If we can't hold them off, we'll use it to destroy this place completely," Jax Pavan declared with a grave tone. "General, are we going to die?" a soldier asked timidly. "Don't worry, I'll stand and fight alongside you to the very end," Jax Pavan reassured him, scanning the anxious faces of his troops. "Besides, the Galactic Republic's intelligence department knows what's at stake. They'll send reinforcements." When I arrived, fleets were already being mobilized from Coruscant. The soldiers nodded, their spirits lifted by his words. At that moment, a soldier who had been tinkering with the console since his arrival approached and announced, "General, I've managed to repair the monitoring system." Jax Pavan's eyes sparkled with hope. "Really? How did you manage that? I thought the rebels had severed the system's connection." "Not entirely. I found an emergency backup line and sent a false signal to make the system think the disconnection was accidental. This allowed me to bypass the rebels' sabotage and restore the system," the soldier explained, delving into technical jargon. "Excellent work. Your name was Dax, right?" "Thank you," Jax Pavan said, appreciatively. "Let's check the monitors and see where the rebels are heading." "Yes, sir," Dax replied, his youthful face beaming with pride at the Jedi's praise. However, when Jax Pavan looked at the screen, his surprise was palpable. The rebel soldiers were retreating in disarray, abandoning heavy weapons and equipment in their haste. "The rebels are retreating. Could it be that our reinforcements have arrived?" Dax exclaimed, thrilled, but Jax Pavan didn't respond. Turning around, Dax found the Jedi's face had turned deathly pale, as if he had seen a ghost. "General?" Dax inquired, puzzled. "Run." Jax Pavan barely whispered. "General, what's happening?" "Open the door and run. I'll cover the rear," Jax Pavan shouted, urgency in his voice. Before anyone could grasp the situation, Dax glanced back at the screen and saw a mysterious figure shrouded in a black cloak and mist appear on one of the monitors. The screen shook and flickered violently, as if under a powerful spell. "It's too late," Jax Pavan muttered, a cold sweat breaking out on his forehead. He ignited his lightsaber, positioning himself by the door, ready to confront the threat. "Who is this person, General?" another soldier whispered. "There's a score to settle between us," Jax Pavan said through clenched teeth, gripping his lightsaber tightly. "Stand back. I'll handle this." Suddenly, all the lights and electronic devices in the main control room flickered out, plunging the space into darkness. Jax Pavan sensed the ominous presence at the door. In that moment, something flew towards him. Reacting instinctively, he dodged and swung his lightsaber, but it only sliced through the air, reflecting a sinister gleam. Jax Pavan stood in shock, his gaze fixed on the withered face before him, a face that seemed as though it had been dead for many years. "What?" he exclaimed, recoiling in horror as he kicked the figure away. The lightsaber in his hand cast a revealing light on the scene, allowing him to see the figure more clearly. It was a Arpe, decayed yet still recognizable. This body, which had been full of life just moments ago, belonged to Dax, the baby-faced soldier who had cheerfully asked him for credit earlier. "What happened? Impossible!" Jax Pavan gasped in disbelief. However, the darkness around him began to stir, and he saw hundreds of shadowy figures staggering towards him. It was then that Jax realized the horrifying truth. The more than 100 soldiers of the Republic in the main control room had, without warning, turned into walking dead. With a swift motion, Jax's lightsaber flashed, slicing Dax's body into two. but more walking dead approached, howling and rushing towards him. Meanwhile, the metal door of the main control room underwent a bizarre transformation. A spot in the middle of the door began to turn black and started to rust at an alarming rate, a phenomenon that defied explanation given the alloy's resistance to rust. In less than a minute, a huge hole had been corroded through the door, which then shattered completely with a loud crash. Standing at the doorway was a figure in a black cloak, the dead angel, Darth Xiao. Jack's pawn, still engaged in combat with the walking corpses, noticed that Darth Xiao remained motionless, merely observing the chaos. After finally defeating the last of the walking dead, Jax, filled with rage over the loss of his comrades, pointed his lightsaber at the dead angel and shouted, "Dead angel, you killed my master, Evan Peel, and now this! I will make you pay." Darth Xiao's response was slow, his voice low and ominous. Jax Powan. Heh. Impressive. It seems you've grown into the formidable person your father, Lorne Powan, hoped you would become. What about Jedi Knights? Jax clenched his teeth in anger. You know my father's name. Ah, yes, he and I were close friends, Darth Xiao sneered. After all, I was the one who decapitated him more than 10 years ago. So, you killed my father. Jax's eyes were bloodshot, his vision tinted red with fury. Darth Xiao laughed darkly. Indeed, I killed him and claimed the bounty for his head. Your father was close to uncovering the truth of this war that engulfs our galaxy. And now, what will you do? You monster! You killed my father, and Dax, and the others. You've murdered countless innocents. Today will be your end. Jax struggled to speak, his voice choked with anger. That's right. Embrace that anger, Darth Xiao taunted, a grin spreading across his face. Come on, draw your sword. Please remember the first domain name of this book. Website address omitted. Vol 2, Chapter 1279, Dead Angel vs. Procong. My father, my master, the countless blood feuds will be settled here today. Jax Pawn, nearly losing his mind with rage, roared as he charged forward, his lightsaber cutting through the air. Darth Messiah's smile grew more sinister. With a mere flick of his wrist, a bolt of force lightning surged towards Jax. Crack! Jax's lightsaber intercepted the lightning, but in the blink of an eye, he was shocked to see the soldiers he had just slain rise again as walking corpses, charging at him with alarming speed. It's useless! Jax's heart swelled with anger. Like a whirlwind, he swung his lightsaber, slicing the undead into countless pieces once more. Yet, in the very next moment, he sensed a looming threat from behind. Without a second's hesitation, he spun around and struck with his sword, only to find nothing there. Then, the sense of danger intensified behind him once again. This time, a seemingly insignificant force suddenly erupted. A gray, smoky energy burst upon him, clinging to his hands as he instinctively tried to cover himself. This gray energy began to burn, sending a chilling, piercing pain straight to his soul. The agony was beyond words, causing Jax to scream as he writhed on the ground, desperately trying to extinguish the gray flames consuming his hand. But it was futile. The flame spread up his arm, engulfing his shoulder and eventually reaching his face. Jax's screams were horrific. Taking back my earlier compliment, you've actually disappointed me, Jax Pawan, Darth Messiah said coldly, watching Jax's agony with a smirk. I entrusted you with the truth of this war, yet you ignored it. I gave you your father's droid, I-5YQ, but you failed to examine it closely. The truth was within your grasp, yet you turned a blind eye. Was it stupidity or disloyalty? Had you been wiser, perhaps the Jedi Order would stand stronger today. He paused, looking at Jax's miserable state. It's a shame. You could have been a great man, but let's see how far you can really go. And now, Darth Messiah turned his attention elsewhere, sensing another powerful force rapidly approaching. Bright and formidable. Dead Angel! Halt! Master Pulokong arrived swiftly, his lightsaber in hand. With a forceful push, he sent a powerful wave of energy towards Darth Messiah, separating him from Jax Pawan. In an instant, he was by Jax's side, and with a mere gesture, the gray flame was extinguished, leaving Jax lying motionless, his right hand, shoulder, and the entire right side of his face scorched black. Pulokong stepped forward, positioning himself between Darth Messiah and Jax, his blue lightsaber pointed directly at the enemy. Your opponent is me, he declared coldly. From the ground, Jax's weak voice could be heard muttering, Run! Run! You've arrived sooner than I anticipated, Darth Messiah remarked calmly. This one is only half ready. Your force, reeking of death, is more conspicuous than anything else in the civilized world, Pulo Kong retorted. Though his expression was hidden behind his mask, the intensity of his force was palpable. Without another word, Darth Messiah raised his hand, sending a bolt of lightning towards Pulo Kong. With a swift movement of his lightsaber, Pulo Kong redirected the lightning, then, raising his other hand, he sent a powerful bolt of lightning back at Darth Messiah. As he blocked the lightning, he looked at Procon with a mix of intrigue and challenge. A trial of force, you say? Interesting. He observed Pulo Kong absorbing the power of his lightning, transforming it into his own energy before responding with a sinister chuckle. It seems every member of the committee is a force to be reckoned with. Well then, let's see how much you can handle. With that declaration, the lightning in his hand intensified dramatically. The entire area was engulfed in a storm of lightning bolts, each as thick as a forearm, twisting around his body like a swarm of thunderous serpents, lunging at Pulo Kong with ferocious intent. Pulo Kong felt the pressure mounting as he retreated, struggling against the onslaught of violent lightning. Despite the overwhelming force, he continued to absorb Darth Massa Yinner's lightning, converting it into his own energy. Suck it in. Go on. Absorb it all. I'll let you have it. Darth Massa Yinner's face twisted into a grimace as the lightning around him grew even stronger and denser. In a sudden move, he flipped his hands, and the lightning that filled the sky vanished, replaced by a ghostly, cloudy atmosphere. The countless bolts of lightning transformed into dry, pale skeletons that reached out for Pulo Kong, turning the energy he was absorbing into a deadly force of death. Become one of the dead. Darth Messiah watched eagerly, anticipating Pulo Kong's defeat. But in an unexpected turn, the lightsaber in Pulo Kong's hand exploded, neutralizing the death force that was being absorbed and dissipating it into a whale of ghosts. Pulo Kong staggered back, clutching his chest and gasping for breath, the effort to block the attack clearly taking a toll on him. I have already faced your power of death and decay, Dead Angel. Today, you will not prevail. Pulo Kong, enduring the pain, stood up once more, igniting the lightsaber he had picked up from Jax Pawan, who had dropped it earlier. Darth Massa Yinner watched him coldly as an endless black mist began to spread from beneath his feet, where dry, rotten arms protruded from the ground, clawing at the air. Despite the ground being made of alloy, Pulo Kong raised his lightsaber and slashed, splitting the black mist in two, though it quickly merged back together. It's futile. Now that you've tasted death, it's time for you to embrace it. Darth Massai's voice seemed both near and distant. Looking up, Pulo Kong realized he had lost sight of him. Below, countless arms reached out, one of them managing to graze his ankle, leaving a wound that began to rot instead of bleed. Not good. Pulo Kong hurried over to Jax Pawan, lifting him up to save him from the grasping arms. At least, you can still live. With all his might, he threw the injured Jax Pawan out of the window. As I said, he will pay the price. Darth Messiah's voice echoed from a distance behind him, and you will become another shadow in his heart. Please remember to visit the first domain name of this book for more. On the planet Lundili, amidst the chaos of outer orbital space, a Victory I-class star destroyer was struck by a powerful force. The impact left the rebel soldiers, who had been taking cover in a corner of the living area, completely stunned. Master Yoda, with a solemn expression, commanded the Republic soldiers behind him, bind them securely. The soldiers promptly obeyed. Master Yoda, with a heavy heart, made his way back to the bridge. He observed the escalating space battle through the bridge's holographic star map. The planetary defense fleet was in disarray. Many warships had their hangar doors still open. Some awaited the arrival of Jedi Knights for rescue, while others engaged fiercely in combat. However, a significant number of battleships, now under the control of the Separatists, were sealing their hatches, igniting their engines, and charging their main guns to join the fray. The rebellion, initiated by the Lundili rebels, had caught everyone off guard. It was a sudden uprising by soldiers who had been brainwashed, leading to the swift murder of many officers and crew members aboard the battleships. The situation deteriorated further as the conflict spread, with some space defense platforms in planetary synchronous orbits also entering the battle. These platforms, armed with powerful turbo-laser cannons, began firing upon the Galactic Republic's warships, while numerous fighter jets launched from their hangars to bomb the Republic-controlled vessels. Among those operating the space defense platforms, controlled by the Lundily Interstellar Power Company Boatman Assembly, there were two types of individuals. Those loyal to the Ulan family, who were willing to rebel against the Republic, and those who were not. The former group attacked the Republic's warships without hesitation, while the latter lacked the courage to fire upon the Lundily rebels' ships. The crisis was escalating. The Planetary Defense Fleet's warships, now in chaos, were far from being fully manned. Of the Dreadnought-class heavy cruisers, which typically housed 2,200 crew members, only about 7,800 individuals remained in a condition to fight, with some ships having suffered so heavily in repeated battles that barely more than 100 crew members were left. These ships struggled to maneuver, raise their deflector shields, or even fire their main guns, rendering them virtually defenseless against the swarming fighter jets. "Evacuate the battle. Land on the planet and secure this battleship," Master Yoda decisively ordered. The time for space combat had passed. With the Republic's reinforcement fleet en route, controlling space was no longer an immediate concern. The priority was to conserve strength. By landing the battleship on Lundily, they could leverage its formidable firepower to gain a significant advantage in the ground battle. However, as the Republic soldiers began to execute Master Yoda's orders, he sensed a disturbing disturbance in the Force. It was a maelstrom of sadness, anger, pain, and hatred. "No, Master, Plo Koon." The intensity of these emotions nearly overwhelmed him, causing such grief that he could barely stand, clutching his chest as his crutch clattered to the ground. "Master Yoda! Master Yoda!" The Republic soldiers cried out in alarm. "The planetary shield! It's been activated! We can't land!" The soldiers looked on in horror as a light blue energy barrier began to envelop the planet Lundily, sealing it off from their reach. The planet Lundily was bathed in a peculiar hue, a testament to the activation of its super-planet shield. This shield, capable of withstanding the relentless bombardment of a large-scale fleet, signified the planet's invincibility. However, its activation also meant complete isolation from the rest of the galaxy, a fact that spelled trouble given the dire news from the planet's surface. The anti-orbital weapon base had fallen, the city had surrendered, and key facilities were now in enemy hands. Even the arrival of the Galactic Republic's fleet would be in vain, as they could do nothing but gaze helplessly at the impenetrable shield. Amidst this chaos, Master Yoda was engulfed in a profound sadness. His sorrow stemmed from the harrowing events unfolding on Rendili. Through the Force, he witnessed a terrifying scene. The sky darkened by a black mist, the land besieged by spectral hands, and at the center of this nightmare, Darth Messian, cloaked in black and levitating with ominous power. Master Yoda saw the valiant efforts of Master Pulo Kong, who, despite wielding his formidable Force abilities and swordsmanship, was forced into a desperate retreat by the overwhelming power of death wielded by Darth Messian. The despair in Pulo Kong's heart was palpable to Yoda, as the deathly force seemed inescapable, sapping the life from its victims while empowering the Dark Lord. The battle reached its climax as countless black wraiths swarmed Pulo Kong, and a blood-red lightning bolt from the sky struck the Grandmaster's heart. In the final moments of their Force connection, the eyes of Master Yoda and Darth Messian met across the vast expanse of the Force, acknowledging each other's presence. Opening his eyes, Master Yoda let out a sigh that carried the weight of immense pain, sadness, and exhaustion. Another Jedi Master, a beacon of wisdom, valor, and leadership, had fallen to the dark side. The galaxy was increasingly enveloped in darkness, both from external threats and from within the heart of the Republic itself. Darkness seemed omnipresent, with no sign of light or hope for the future. Yoda realized that he, along with the entire Jedi Order, was powerless to change the course of events. Despite knowing the true identities of the dead angel, Tang Xiao, and Darth Sidious as Palpatine, they were still ensnared in the throes of war, facing formidable dark forces and witnessing the suffering of countless beings. Resigned to this grim reality, Master Yoda focused on preserving what little hope remained for the Jedi Order. He clung to the prophecies of the Chosen One, Anakin Skywalker, and the Force-sensitive twins, the Dream Sisters, as beacons of hope. With a renewed sense of purpose, Yoda addressed the soldiers beside him, instructing them to temporarily retreat and await reinforcements from the Republic. His gaze then shifted towards an entrance in the planetary shield, through which a shuttle was emerging, heading towards a Victory I-class Star Destroyer. The shuttle was enveloped in the sinister force of death. "Darth Masa Yener," Master Yoda murmured, picking up his crutches and slowly making his way to the hangar, his spirit undeterred by the challenges ahead. Vol 2, Chapter 1281, Arden Lin vs. Darth Malthel. Darth Malthel piloted the shuttle directly towards the space battlefield. Despite the chaotic state of the planetary defense fleet, the vast expanse of space around him remained eerily quiet. His gaze drifted towards a particularly bright force signature in the distance, Master Yoda's. However, Darth Malthel chose to steer clear. Having recently slain Master Plo Koon, he was well aware that Master Yoda, now likely enraged, would be a formidable opponent. Engaging with Master Yoda in such a state would only serve to amuse Darth Sidious back on Coruscant. The Sith Lords and the Jedi Order were at odds, each seeking to undermine the other. Despite their mutual disdain, the Sith Lords shared a tacit agreement to exploit the Jedi Knight's superior numbers and strength for their own ends, all the while subtly sabotaging each other. Thus, Darth Malthel bypassed Master Yoda, setting his sights on another target, Arden Lin. He had tracked her down to a Victory I-class Star Destroyer, the ownership of which was still in contention. It seemed she was either attempting to seize the Star Destroyer for herself or looking to impress Darth Sidious. Her true motivations, however, remained unclear, especially regarding who could resurrect her husband, Shin Duo. Darth Malthel's shuttle entered the hangar of the Star Destroyer. Inside, Arden Lin was seen forcefully instructing a crew member, only to dismiss him upon realizing the futility of their situation. She prepared herself for an imminent confrontation, adjusting her mechanical arm to optimal condition. Suddenly, the crew member underwent a horrifying transformation, decaying rapidly into a corpse that lunged at her. Arden Lin dispatched the creature with a powerful blow, then turned to face a new arrival, Darth Malthel, cloaked in black. "You're Darth Malthel?" she asked coldly, indicating the grotesque scene beside her. "Is this how you plan to resurrect my husband?" Darth Malthel was taken aback, momentarily questioning his abilities. He had come seeking retribution, yet the resurrection he had inadvertently demonstrated was nothing more than a grotesque parody, turning the living into undead monstrosities. The timing of their encounter could not have been worse. Their first meeting had involved a clone with limited abilities, incapable of performing the resurrection technique. Now, with his true form present, his uncontrolled death force had only managed to create zombies. Darth Malthel realized the grim reality. His current state rendered him incapable of performing a true resurrection. His presence alone caused the living to turn undead, while those with strength quickly succumbed to decay. The fate of Master Plo Koon, his recent victim, was a testament to this dark power. As he stood there, confronted by Arden Lin's questioning gaze, Darth Malthel understood the complexity of their situation. The battle between them was not just a clash of forces, but a confrontation of deeply intertwined fates and ambitions. Arden Lin approached and said with a sneer, "Do you really believe that one must travel to Korriban and defeat a group of ancient immortals to master resurrection?" Darth Malthel, with a dismissive sneer, replied, "It appears that the so-called Sith Lords are not as reliable as one might think." Growing tired of the conversation, Darth Malthel gestured with his hands, summoning a terrifying vortex of death energy that spiraled violently, resembling a storm of demise. Arden Lin, with lightning-fast reflexes, unleashed a flurry of punches, each targeting a different part of the swirling death storm. Her relentless assault gradually dismantled the vortex. In a swift motion, she sidestepped, evading several bolts of force lightning, and in an instant appeared behind Darth Malthel. With a powerful punch, Darth Malthel's form disintegrated into countless wisps of gray smoke. From the dissipating smoke, rotten arms reached out, attempting to ensnare Arden Lin. However, she was not one to be easily captured. The force within her erupted, dispersing the ghostly hands like smoke. As she sought to regain her position, Darth Malthael unexpectedly reappeared on the opposite side of the bridge, his hand crackling with a fearsome blood-red lightning. He pointed it at Arden Lin, who realized in that fraction of a second that evasion was impossible. The lightning was destined for her, the sole survivor in this ghostly battlefield. Undeterred, Arden Lin roared and launched a punch. The blood-red lightning struck, shattering her mechanical arm, while her other fist landed squarely on Darth Malthael's chest. Her aggressive fighting style was evident in that moment. Darth Malthael was sent flying backward, feeling the impact of her powerful punch. Even he couldn't help but acknowledge the pain. Arden Lin's technique, filled with immense force, would have been fatal to anyone else. However, Arden Lin was in a dire state herself. Kneeling on the ground, blackened blood seeped from her skin, a grim sight. She had previously engaged in a fierce battle with Master Yoda, both exchanging severe injuries. It was rare to find another who could stand toe-to-toe with her in combat. Darth Malthael, with a cold tone, said, "Here's a lesson for you, madwoman." He chose not to end her life, but instead walked past her to the console. After confirming the communication device was operational, he ordered, "Send a robot to take control of this battleship. Let's not sacrifice more lives needlessly." "Master Dead Angel?" "Yes, immediately." An officer from the Ulan family responded eagerly. Meanwhile, in the outer space near the planet Rendili, a burst of dazzling white light appeared, signaling the unfolding of new events. Vol 2, Chapter 1282, The Bifurcation of History. Darth Malthael scrutinized the image relayed by the sensor, his brow furrowed in concern. The sudden burst of white light was a phenomenon typically observed when a fleet-scale force emerged from hyperspace. It was far too early for Severance Tan's fleet to arrive, leaving only one plausible explanation. The Galactic Republic's reinforcement fleet had entered the fray. Your response was swifter than anticipated, Darth Sidious. It appears you had contingencies in place for the events on Rendili. Despite the turmoil on Scipio, you've managed to dispatch another fleet. It seems you had a backup plan ready. Darth Malthael mused aloud, reaching for his communicator. The connection established, and the holographic projection displayed Bangira Ulan, now donned in a military uniform. The uniform, both majestic and luxurious, was tailored with precision. Upon seeing Darth Malthael's weary visage, Bangira Ulan expressed surprise before stating, "Master Dead Angel, the Galactic Republic's fleet has arrived. What is our course of action?" Darth Malthael replied with a cold tone, "What is there to fear? The planetary shield is activated, rendering the Republic's makeshift fleet incapable of breaching our defenses." "But our own fleet," Bangira Ulan began hesitantly. Darth Malthael interjected, "Haven't you been following the news? What do you presume the Galactic Republic aims to achieve with their arrival? The main fleet of the Second Galaxy Army is entangled on Scipio." Acknowledging his oversight, Bangira Ulan bowed his head. "I understand now. The unfolding situation with the Interstellar Banking Association. Your foresight is unparalleled, Lord. To think that even an entity as vast as the Interstellar Banking Association falls within your machinations." The news of the Interstellar Banking Association's impending split and the revelations that followed had sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy. Realizing that these developments were orchestrated by the Sith Lord before him, Bangira Ulan felt a chill. "Dispatch the supplementary personnel immediately. Ensure all battleships under our command are operational. We will rely on the planetary shield for defense and take control of the space defense platforms without delay. This location will soon be a battlefield," Darth Malthael commanded sharply. "Understood." Bangira Ulan hurried away to execute the orders, understanding the gravity of the situation. Turning his attention to Arden Lin, who lay injured on the ground, Darth Malthael pressed a button to summon a medical robot, instructing, "Take her to the medical bay for treatment. Keep her alive at all costs." The medical robot silently extended its mechanical arm, carefully transporting Arden Lin away for medical attention. Meanwhile, Darth Malthael was not one to idle. With only a handful of B-1 robots for company, he maneuvered the battleship closer to their defensive zone, awaiting reinforcements. On the opposing side, the forces led by Jing Fang and the Republic were making similar maneuvers. They regrouped their warships, moving to join the Republic's reinforcement fleet, ready to consolidate their forces. Master Yoda, upon witnessing Darth Malthael board one of the Victory I-class Star Destroyers and seal the hangar, realized the Sith Lord was evading him. Though he wished to pursue, the Star Destroyer was beyond his reach, prompting him to return to his own battleship. A peculiar calm settled over the space battlefield. The warships from both factions, previously entangled in conflict, now withdrew to their respective sides, establishing a clear divide. This moment marked a significant bifurcation in the history of their ongoing conflict, setting the stage for the battles to come. Amidst the chaos of battle, the main cannons of the warships from both factions continued their relentless assault, while the formation of fighter jets that had been deployed was recalled. This temporary lull was deceptive, as it merely presaged a more ferocious tempest on Sraki horizon. In the midst of this turmoil, the Yulan family managed to retain control over a significant portion of their fleet, including 7 Victory I-class Star Destroyers and 62 Dreadnought-class heavy cruisers. Meanwhile, the intelligence operatives of the Galactic Republic, collaborating closely with Jing Fang and under the strategic guidance of Master Yoda, successfully commandeered 5 Victory I-class Star Destroyers and 48 Dreadnought-class heavy cruisers. The fierce skirmishes that followed resulted in 1 Victory I-class Star Destroyer and 7 Dreadnought-class heavy cruisers being severely damaged or destroyed, rendering them incapable of further combat. This outcome was largely due to Darth Malthael's intervention, which prevented the Galactic Republic from falling into a dire predicament. The Republic had anticipated the betrayal by the Rendeli Star Drive, employing their intelligence agents to infiltrate and sway key sectors, particularly the planetary defense fleet. In the original storyline, the Rendeli Star Drive was cornered into rebellion, but their control over the fleet was short-lived. Upon the arrival of a special envoy from the Jedi Order, the fleet's resistance crumbled from within, leading to its rapid disintegration. Consequently, when General Grievous's support fleet arrived, the Rendili Planetary Defense Fleet was unable to provide any assistance, aligning themselves instead with the Republic, marking yet another defeat for the Confederacy of Independent Systems. General Grievous lamented the difficulty of leading a primitive, cold weapon-era civilization against a technologically advanced interstellar adversary. However, Darth Malthael's involvement altered the course of events. The Rendili Star Drive managed to maintain control over the majority of their armed forces, positioning themselves to offer substantial resistance against the Galactic Republic. Concurrently, an unexpected attack on the planet Scipio, the headquarters of the Intergalactic banking clan, by the Geth, coupled with the financial giant's internal strife, necessitated the diversion of Master Windu's main fleet from the Second Galactic Army to defend Scipio. This left Supreme Chancellor Palpatine scrambling to assemble another fleet to address the situation in the Rendili system. Under Darth Malthael's influence, the Rendili Star Drive witnessed a significant turnaround. A multitude of transport ships began to depart from the spaceports under Ulan family control on Rendili, tasked with delivering reinforcements to the beleaguered planetary defense fleet. Captain Jesse Darling, the fleet commander, selected a new Victory I-class Star Destroyer as his flagship and commenced preparations for command operations. At Darth Malthael's behest, a shipment of B-1 battle droids, programmed for battleship operation, was delivered to his vessel, effectively making it his command ship. However, just as Darth Malthael was orchestrating the deployment of the droids, an unexpected explosion near the medical bay caught him off guard. In the ensuing confusion, a V-19 Torrent starfighter seized the opportunity to escape, swiftly making its way to the galaxy's outer reaches. This development took Darth Malthael by surprise, leading him to realize that Arden Lyn had feigned her death. Her mastery of the Iron Hand technique had endowed her with the remarkable ability to pour. Darth Malthael watched impassively as the fighter jet sped away, making no move to pursue. He was indifferent to Arden Lyn's escape. In his eyes, her departure from Darth Sidious's side was a victory in itself. However, a hint of frustration lingered within him. He had acknowledged Arden Lyn's strength yet he did not see her as a threat. Nevertheless, she possessed a unique talent that intrigued him, the ability to unsettle even the most formidable opponents, himself included. In a more colloquial sense, she was a master at stirring trouble among the elite. Shaking his head, he decided to let it go. As long as the trouble doesn't come my way, he thought. He Galaxy was vast, offering plenty of space for her to cause chaos elsewhere. As for the fourth civilization, he almost welcomed their challenge with a taunt. Come and face me if you dare. Darth Malthael's contemplation revealed a complex web of power dynamics and personal vendettas. Despite his apparent disinterest, his thoughts betrayed a keen awareness of Arden Lynn's potential to disrupt the established order. His acceptance of her escape was not born out of apathy, but a calculated decision to focus on greater threats. In the grand scheme of things, he saw her not as an enemy to be vanquished, but as a wild card that could be used to his advantage, so long as she remained a distant storm. Volume 2, Chapter 1283, Task Force. In the vast expanse of the Rendili Galaxy, the Galactic Republic's task force, led by the flagship Arion, a Knight-class star destroyer, made its formidable presence known. The Arion's 1,600-meter-long hull, shaped into a sharp wedge, rose and thickened towards its rear, culminating in a towering bridge supported by 3 additional structures. At the forefront of the bridge, 2 rows of main gun positions housed a total of 60 Taya, back XX-9 turbo laser guns. These formidable weapons, with their cold, stout, dual-mounted barrels, pointed directly ahead, ready to unleash devastating firepower at a moment's notice. Despite the Knight-class star destroyer having been introduced to the fleet 6 months prior, it had undergone continuous debugging due to a significant flaw discovered in its operating system. It was only after the Republic Cena Systems Company was commissioned to redesign the battleship's operating system that the Knight-class star destroyer was deemed ready for frontline service. Now, as part of this task force, 3 such destroyers were deployed, marking the latest technological marvels from the Kuat Drive yards, now tasked with addressing the affairs of the Lundili Interstellar Power Company. The irony of the situation was not lost on those familiar with the intricacies of galactic politics, suggesting perhaps a deliberate move by those in power at Kuat. On the bridge of the Arion, Vice Admiral Terranald Scaride, a figure of authority in the Galactic Republic, stood with an imposing posture. In his 30s, with a dark complexion and a stern expression, he was a sight to behold. His attire included a pair of lightweight power gloves designed to enhance movement, but it was his left eye, replaced entirely by a red electronic implant nestled within a scarred visage, that commanded attention. His adjutant, standing before him, struggled to maintain eye contact. Have we managed to reclaim nearly 50 capital ships? Vice Admiral Scaride inquired, his voice carrying a tone of cautious optimism. Yes, sir. The outcome has exceeded our expectations, thanks to the Jedi Order. Master Yoda's intervention was pivotal. The Separatists stood no chance against him, the adjutant reported. Connect me to Master Yoda, Scaride commanded, his voice betraying a hint of respect for the venerable Jedi Master. As Master Yoda's image appeared on the screen, Vice Admiral Scaride addressed him with a warmth that contrasted sharply with his fearsome appearance. Master Yoda, your valor in battle is deeply appreciated. We will take it from here. Perhaps you should consider taking a moment to rest and attend to your injuries. He noted the wound on Master Yoda's forehead with concern. The battle for Lundiri is far from over. The threat of division looms large. Now is not the time for rest, Master Yoda responded, his voice steady and resolute. In that case, I invite you to my flagship, the Arion, for the best medical care. However, I must insist that Lieutenant General Jane Dodonna assume command of the upcoming battle. It would be best if you refrained from further involvement, Scaride stated firmly, making it clear that while he held the Jedi Order in high esteem, he believed their era had passed and that the Republic's new order no longer required their direct intervention. I will offer my assistance without interfering with fleet command, Master Yoda acquiesced, nodding before ending the communication. Vice Admiral Scaride then initiated a call to General Jan Dodonna, a man of similar age but of a much leaner build. Congratulations, General Dodonna. Thanks to the Jedi Knight's efforts, You have been granted a significant opportunity to lead, Scaride began, setting the stage for the next phase of their mission. Lieutenant General Scaride's tone carried a hint of bitterness as he spoke. He and Lieutenant General Dodana were not just comrades in arms, but also rivals. Both were distinguished graduates of the Kalita Naval Academy, and through relentless battles, they had risen to their current ranks. The outcome of their current missions would determine who among them would ascend to the prestigious position of admiral, leading the fleet against the separatist forces in a direct confrontation. Oh, 50 battleships. That's more than double what you have. Would you like me to transfer some to you? Jane Dodana offered, his demeanor straightforward and sincere. He genuinely intended to share some of his battleships with Scaride. Unfortunately, Scaride misinterpreted Dodana's offer as mockery, responding with a cold snort. Humph. I have no need for your hand-me-downs. The fleet under my command is more than sufficient. The planet Lundili will soon be under my control. Scaride's task force comprised 20 warships, including 3 Knight-class star destroyers, 3 Chira-class assault landing ships, and 14 Hunter-class battlecruisers. Additionally, there were 100 Republic-class transport ships for moving troops and equipment. These warships were initially designated to reinforce the counterattack against the separatist General Grievous's forces on the planet Celia. However, due to a series of significant events within the Inner Circle, Supreme Chancellor Palpatine redirected these reinforcements to form a task force headed for the planet Lundili under the command of Trenald Scaride and Jane Dodana. Dodana cautioned, the rebels of Lundili have activated their planetary shield. We'll have to engage their fleet directly. This mission won't be easy. If it were easy, they could have just sent you, Scaride retorted sarcastically. I'll take command of the fleet. The crews need reorganization, which will take at least 2 to 3 days. I'll get started right away. With that, Dodana mobilized his forces and ended the communication. Meanwhile, aboard a Victory I-class star destroyer of the former planetary defense fleet on Rendili, a soldier approached the Jedi Knights on the bridge to report, General, our fighters have intercepted a V-19 fighter jet. It didn't respond to the latest identification friend or foe system, and there was no communication. Please advise. After a moment's thought, Jing Fang instructed, activate the tractor beam and retrieve the fighter jet. Let's find out who the pilot is. Yes, sir. Shortly afterward, in the medical bay, Jing Fang observed Arden Lin, who lay unconscious on a hospital bed. She was a dark side entity over 20,000 years ago, Master Yoda explained slowly. I wasn't aware before, but now that I am. Jing Fang pondered. I still believe we should help her. I don't think she's inherently evil. Master Yoda shook his head, expressing his disagreement silently. General, should we handcuff her while she's receiving treatment? A soldier inquired. No, if she truly wishes to leave, we'll let her. At least outwardly, she's an operative for the Republic's intelligence department, Jing Fang decided. Perhaps your approach is wise, Master Yoda conceded with a soft sigh. I'm old, and it's time for our generation to... Easter Egg Chapter Attachment 1, the future Admiral of the Galactic Empire, Trenald Scaride. Easter Egg Chapter Attachment 2, future Rebel Commander, Jane Dodana. Although they were classmates, their paths diverged significantly. Please remember the first domain name of this book, website. Vol 2, Chapter 1284, Battle of Rendili, 10. Lieutenant General Scaride wasted no time upon his arrival in the Rendili system. He delegated the task of reorganizing and integrating the planetary defense fleet to his colleague, Lieutenant General Jane Dodana, and immediately initiated an assault. His assessment of the situation revealed that the warships under the command of Master Yoda and Jing Fang, which comprised half of the planetary defense fleet, were in dire straits. The equipment on these ships was severely lacking, resulting in a chaotic mix of hardware. Some vessels were manned by engineering troops instead of trained crew members, and in some cases, recruits could be found in the engine rooms, desperately trying to understand thick operating manuals. The morale of these soldiers had plummeted following recent upheavals, leaving them nearly devoid of the will to fight, necessitating psychological counseling. Furthermore, the supply and maintenance of these warships were incomplete due to disruptions caused by the riots, leaving many essential combat readiness materials undelivered. Lieutenant General Scard surmised that the condition of the warships aligned with the Rendili rebels was likely no better. Despite the urgency of the situation, Lieutenant General Jane Dodena estimated that 3 days were needed to complete the reorganization. Scard speculated that the rebels might manage to reorganize their fleet in half that time. Nevertheless, armed with 20 state-of-the-art warships and leading a task force that included 3 Knight-class Star Destroyers, Lieutenant General Scard confidently launched an assault against the rebels' aging Dreadnought-class heavy cruisers, believing his superior firepower and well-trained crew would easily overpower them. Lieutenant General Scard, representing a new generation of strategic military leaders within the Galactic Republic, demonstrated his prowess from the onset of the attack, sending Jesse Darling, the fleet commander of the Rendili rebels, into disarray. "Left wing, hold your position. Dunborough, don't flee. Stand firm." Captain Jesse Darling's frantic commands echoed through the communication channels. Darth Malthel, observing the chaos, could easily discern the lack of coherent strategy in Darling's orders, which were filled with vague directives like, "Hold on," "Give me," and "Fire with all your strength," without any clear guidance on fleet maneuvers, formation adjustments, or tactical deployments. Indeed, Jesse Darling was a clone replacement, but that did not excuse the ineptitude displayed. The panic spread to the other battleship captains, who either hesitated indecisively or, in a state of sheer cowardice, ordered their ships to retreat, forgetting that retreat was not an option with Rendili itself looming behind them. As the Republic task force closed in, the disorganized resistance of the Rendili planetary fleet crumbled almost instantly. The impending melee promised to be the final blow that would completely shatter the rebels' resolve. In the midst of this turmoil, Darth Malthael's battleship suffered a severe hit, jolting everyone on board and underscoring the dire situation they faced. Struck by a turbo laser, the battleship shuddered despite the deflector shield successfully neutralizing and dissipating the cannon's formidable energy impact. "Scan the source of the artillery fire," commanded Darth Malthael. Despite his limited understanding of space warfare, he recognized the extraordinary power behind the attack, clearly not the work of ordinary warships. "Roger, Roger," responded a B-1 droid, swiftly operating the computer. Moments later, the image of a wedge-shaped battleship was projected onto the screen. "An Imperial-class Star Destroyer? How is this possible?" Darth Malthael exclaimed in disbelief. With limited information at hand, he mistook the Knight class for the Imperial class, despite their similarities. The Imperial class was deployed at least 1 to 2 years earlier. If this truly is an Imperial class, he pondered the depth disparities in warship quality, command capabilities, and readiness. The transport ships, now scattering in disarray due to the attack, were meant to deliver supplementary troops and supplies to the planetary defense fleet. However, before the replenishment could be completed, the Republic fleet launched a surprise attack. Malthael realized he might have underestimated Chancellor Palpatine's resolve. In the original storyline, the Republic had not mobilized its fleet for the Lundili incident. Yet, in this instance, Chancellor Palpatine appeared determined to thwart the Republic's counterattack and swiftly address the conflict between the Interstellar Banking Association and the Lundili Interstellar Power Company. Regardless of his underestimation, Malthael knew he couldn't have brought a fleet commander to Lundili. After all, the assets at stake belonged to the Lundili Interstellar Power Company and the Ulan family, represented not by military might, but by financial leverage. However, the premature arrival of the Galactic Republic Task Force significantly worsened the situation on Lundili. Severance Tan's fleet would take at least 1.5 to 2 days to arrive, as navigating through the Republic's defense system in the complex hyperspace channels was no small feat. Considering the current state of the battle, the Rendili rebel army's fleet might not last even a day. Observing a Dreadnought-class heavy cruiser on the holographic star map, attempting to flee, only to be struck on its engine by the Imperial-class Star Destroyer, Malthael watched as flames and thick smoke billowed from the engine, causing the battleship to list and halt. Less than 10 minutes into the battle, Lundele's forces had already sustained significant damage. Recalculating, Malthael estimated the fleet could collapse in 2 hours at most. He opened the fleet-wide communication channel and stated coldly, "All warships are to obey orders and organize resistance with the space defense platform as the core. Retreat is strictly forbidden. Any ship attempting to flee will have its adjutant executed on the first offense and its captain on the second. These orders are to be enforced by the death squads aboard each ship." The so-called death squads were individuals brainwashed through the use of rebirth medical pods, ensuring absolute obedience to orders. This measure was intended to enforce discipline and maintain a semblance of resistance. Despite the dire situation, Lundele's defensive fleet boasted 50 to 60 capital ships and an even greater number of smaller vessels. Without sophisticated battlefield command, the mere presence and firepower of these warships could still serve a purpose, at the very least maintaining a baseline of defense. This would buy Malthael more time to devise a strategy. "I'm sorry, but I can't assist with that request."